Kawhi Leonard hit the game winner, and the Clippers held on 105-102 against the Rockets in Houston, while the Pistons outscored the Raptors 113-95. Cade Cunningham led the way with 28 points, and the Hornets are back in the win column after topping the Hawks 110-107. Mavs star rookie Cooper Flagg has been diagnosed with a midfoot sprain. He is out Thursday against the Lakers and through the All-Star weekend, so he will miss the Rising Stars game. Lakers will be without Luka Doncic because of his hamstring strain, but he hopes to be able to make an appearance in Sunday's All-Star game. I'm Monty Bolaños.
You're up and it's still dark. Kick back with a cup of Joe. You know you've got friends waiting on 1620 The Zone. It's Happer and Schaefer. It's Connor and Mike. Listen on the radio stream or YouTube or podcasts. Anytime it feels right. It's Happer and Schaefer.
All right, good morning and welcome in. Happy Thursday. It's Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. That means Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer, and Joey Colbert are with you this morning. How we doing, gentlemen?
Doing well.
Good.
Good start to the morning.
Really?
Is
that
sarcasm?
Sounds sarcastic.
Yeah.
No, I'm being positive today.
Yeah, all
It's
Joey
it's positive vibes Thursday for me.
I didn't know that. Because all Joey was muttering to himself about his broken computer.
Yeah, I was going to say, when we left things yesterday, Joey and his computer were not on good terms.
For the first 20 minutes that I've been in contact with you today, it's been muttering about your broken computer, and all of a sudden you're like, it's a great day. I love radio.
I had to restart the computer. I am getting it up right now.
You sound like Mike Sauter when he refers to Lincoln, Nebraska.
I love Lincoln.
Looks like we're back. Looks like we're back to normal, back up and running.
Okay, all right. So there is reason to be positive. Good.
Yeah, I was able to restart the computer, and it's all up and running right when we started the show. I just needed to get my things done.
Okay. All right. Well, we got there. Doesn't matter how we got there. Just that we got there. Well, good morning, everybody. Apparently it's a positive vibes Thursday here on Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. We have plenty to talk about today. We have just one guest. Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7 will join us coming up at 8:30 today. So there will be plenty of opportunities for you to get involved with the show. 402-951-1620 on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. You can call or text that number. You can tweet, which we like it when you do, at Happen Schaefer, at Connor Happer, at Mike J. Schaefer on Twitter. You can email Connor Mike Joey at 1620thezone.com on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox. And for those of you who haven't arrived yet, for those of you who are about to arrive, for those of you who are rewinding back and watching this show several hours in the future, hello to our YouTube streamers. Some people do that. That's how some people watch the show.
Really? They wait until 3:00 in the afternoon, then they hammer it out.
Whenever it's convenient for them, they're like, let's go all the way back to the beginning. Let's hear that beautiful, beautiful theme song.
Thank you for being there, YouTubers.
And then we will listen to see what they were talking about at the very, very start of the show. And the answer is generally nothing.
Yep.
Not much.
Usually very little
at the start of the show. We have some topics that predictably we had left over from yesterday. We had a interesting night in the Big Ten. I
watched a lot of, because I've just become a sicko now.
I know.
I had the quad box going, and so I had both Big Ten games on the left side. I think on the right side at one point it was Clemson and Virginia Tech.
Okay, now that's big time.
And then Ole Miss and Alabama.
Wow.
And so I had all of that going, and then later on I was keeping an eye on Michigan and Northwestern while also keeping an eye on Creighton and DePaul.
What a rivalry.
I did not stay up for the Washington game. this Wednesday, though.
Okay, good.
Good for you.
Who did they play last night?
They played. Now I don't even remember.
Okay. All right.
So that's a great start.
Uh-huh,
But no, there was a 10 o'clock because it's Wednesdays.
It appears as if Washington played Penn State. Thank God you didn't stay up for that.
Yeah, there
game.
was no reason.
Also, Penn State won.
Goodness.
So another night in the Big Ten. I was all prepared to do a segment about how Michigan lost to Northwestern and
you knew that game was gonna flip though.
Some of these tenets are still true. So we'll talk about it today. But Nebraska still really stands alone, unless you discount Michigan's loss to Wisconsin, which is aging better and better with every passing day. Nebraska is really still the only team in the Big Ten who has avoided being the Grim Reaper came from some of the bottom teams in the conference, or at least somebody outside of their tier. So that's something that we'll talk about today, the night in the Big Ten. Also, speaking of conferences and basketball, the Big 12, led by Big Idea Commissioner Man, has another idea. And this time, I don't know, it kind of rocks. Big Idea Commissioner Man, the tide is starting to turn on Big Idea Commissioner Man. Yes, I was like, this guy is crazy at first.
Trying to think of some of his ideas that have just fell flat.
Play games in a variety of other countries has been one of his ideas.
They were like the first to really kick around the idea of getting the Saudi money. To bring in the private equity into college athletics.
But people are kind of like, ooh, they kind of have an identity, and their identity is to do weirdly wacky but sort of innovative stuff. They're always trying to push it forward a little bit. And sometimes, yes, you will fall flat on your face and the ideas won't get hammered out the way that you want them to, but sometimes they will work. And this time we're talking about a court for the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City, which will stay in Kansas City, by the way. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show today. We are on the eve of college baseball. That didn't get as much excitement as I wanted it to.
Nebraska plays tomorrow against UConn. Who the Blue Jays are playing?
The Blue Jays are playing St. Mary's tomorrow.
I mean, you got a text yesterday about the Blue Jays uniforms.
Yes, I got several texts yesterday about the Blue
Multiple
Jays.
People were reacting to it.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure Grimm had his slice on the show yesterday.
Was that yesterday?
No, it was the other day.
Yeah, I listened to a slice, and
he
all he did was talk about the games that are playing. That he just laid out the schedule.
I'm guessing his little watch schedule.
Yeah, it was basically like a what to watch.
Yeah, what games I'm going to be watching this weekend.
Which he's not going to watch all the games, but
trust me, he's locked in.
I don't know.
He is locked in.
You can't watch 14 college baseball games.
He'll watch a good chunk of them here.
Yeah, right. He'll have it on in the back.
He'll take full control.
Okay, so maybe we could take a moment and talk about some college baseball today, where Nebraska and Creighton and Omaha begin their seasons tomorrow. Fred Hoiberg went on the radio last night. Bill Moose went on the radio yesterday. I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't feel like we have much tact on this whole Bill Moose thing.
Tact?
I don't know. It just doesn't feel like we're super engaged in the topic.
Like us or the people?
Us as a show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's only so much that you can really do with it. I know that more detail came out of the immature meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Did you learn about this detail?
I listened. Yeah.
Were you immediately just like, how did they hire this guy?
Yeah, that's a question that I would like to ask today. I mean, not to turn the clock back, 8 years, 9 years at this point, but we could readdress that today on the show. And then, of course, last night to finish off what was a glorious day, Creighton was engaged in another heated battle, and this time fell a little bit short against DePaul and took just their second loss to them since joining the Big East Conference. This is definitely 2014-15.
You're going to have to explain this to me as someone who had no interest in Creighton in 2014 and 15.
Yeah, I could tell you.
Passing interest in 25-26.
Here's a quick summary. This is the first year without Doug McDermott in the gang, and
this is the first year without Kalkbrenner. That's an angle to it. That's an angle to it. I wasn't even really thinking about it that way. They just played in 100 close games and won a few and lost most of the other ones.
Well, we can dive more into this.
Yeah, and then there's somebody. I got some responses last night when I said that on Twitter, and they were like, "Well, no, this is different because of this reason and this reason." And so we'll dive into that as we go on throughout the show today. Once again, BC is our only guest in the lineup today, so we are pleased.
Yeah, I mean, Max must have won the Super Bowl along with Sam Darnold.
He said, "I'm going to Disney World."
Yeah, he sent me a photo and everything. I was like, "Huh."
What do you think?
Cool.
This is a good random topic to start the show, and maybe we've talked about this. Do you now that your son is growing up a little bit, what are your plans for Disney World?
So
I feel like every single parent in America has to have a plan of attack for how they're going to handle Disney World when child asks about it.
So I never went as a kid. I've never been as an adult. It's a thing where we could do it and I would be fine with it. It's a thing where we could not do it and save $30,000. So there's
pretty chill.
There's either options on the table. Like, I think there's other amusement parks. We could go to Santa Clara and go to California
Great Adventure, or whatever. Yeah,
we could do that. We could go over to Worlds of Fun.
But I figure if you're gonna do the theme park thing, you might as well just do it.
I get it. It's something that Shelby, because she went as a kid. I think she wants Hudson to be able to go, but it's a big. Trying to figure out the timing.
You have to find the right age.
And then the other thing is,
I don't know what that is.
If we end up with another kid, then that kind of offsets when that timing would be.
And you got to do it again.
And then it becomes more expensive.
Exactly. That's why you got to have a plan.
We'll play it by ear.
That's why you got to have a plan. Now, I don't know exactly what we're developing a plan. I go off of past experiences. Like you said, you never went as a kid. I went as a small child and didn't appreciate it / remember it at all, except from looking at the pictures.
Do the kids appreciate it / remember it even when they're a little bit older?
I did when we went for the second time when my sister was little.
Okay.
And so like I knew. Now I didn't really appreciate it that much because I was mad because it was raining the entire time, and
I think that's like a common.
That's
thing
just how
I've
it goes.
People,
that's how it goes. Every day at 2:00 it rains at Disney World. That's like how it goes. But I do remember it pretty vividly and like very much enjoyed it.
Okay.
And so now I have like an attachment to it a little bit. So I have to probably go, but you got to figure out the right time, and there's big life decisions to happen in between. So have a plan.
You got to start saving about 5 years in advance.
Sal writes in on YouTube, I've heard it's now cheaper to go to Disney World Paris than it is to go to Orlando. Like, even if you're from America, I didn't even know that there was Disney World Paris.
Oh yeah, there's Disney World versions in like Paris. There's one in Japan, I think.
Yeah. So you're telling me it'd be cheaper for me to go to Paris and go to Disney World in Paris rather than just go to regular Disney World in America?
Yeah, but then you have to be in Paris.
Paris sounds fine.
I don't know. It's not that high on the list of like world
international cities. Now, not for me either, but it sounds fine.
France in general rates relatively low because it feels like something I could do when I'm older.
All I know is if I go to Paris, I'm not going to Disney World in Paris.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I got real Disney World right here. Well. It's just a couple hour flight away.
I'd rather go to the catacombs over in Paris than Disney World.
Okay, there you go. I'd rather do probably anything else in Paris.
Would you rather go to a basketball game in Rome than Disney World in Paris?
No, like I'm not that much of a sicko. Like if I was taking an international trip, I would not be thinking about anything else except for doing the international trip. I wouldn't be doing American things. I wouldn't be going to Disney
What you
World.
described is why I would not have wanted to do the Ireland thing. It's why I don't have the big desire if the Vikings play overseas to go and do that.
Correct.
Like if I travel,
I'm not going to hang out with a bunch of, no offense, I'm not going to hang out with a bunch of Nebraska fans. In Ireland, a trip of my life. I've never been outside of the continental United States.
I just have this image as you're somewhere, whether it's at Guinness or you're at one of the castles or you're just somewhere.
I'm just enjoying the time of my life.
And then like a Go Big Red chant breaks out.
Yeah.
And it just,
or somebody comes up to me, he's like, Jasker. And I'm like, wow, this is horrible. This is the worst thing ever.
Poll question: have you ever been called J-Skur in another continent?
I bet there's some people that have been.
Probably,
but there's some people that have been. That's for sure. So yeah, if I'm going overseas, I'm going to get away from everybody.
That's fair
for a couple weeks. Rob says, save your money and go to Adventureland. Come on over to Adventureland.
Yeah, that part keeps growing.
Does it?
Never been.
Never been either. People always would take day trips, like, hey, get in the car, let's go to Des Moines and let's go to the
that was the thing. That was the thing in my childhood, and we would stay at the Wildwood Lodge in Des Moines.
Oh,
We'll be there for a couple days.
We were a Worlds of Fun family. A lot of Worlds of Fun.
We did some Worlds of
When
Fun.
the OJ stuff went down, we were in Kansas City for a family vacation, and Worlds of Fun was that same day.
Did you go to the game where Ken Griffey Jr. hit the home runs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you
so
go.
we went to 2 baseball games, and that was one of them.
June 17th, 1994.
Mm-hmm. So it was pretty cool on the ESPN. It's like they show that. It's like,
I was there.
I got my first ever frozen malt. That's what I remember.
Mike
from the
Schaefer
game.
was like, go Royals.
I couldn't tell you where we sat. We were up high. I know that. And I got a frozen malt, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So like I was upset by this. And then my dad was upset at me for being upset. Like these are the little things
That's
that I
what
remember.
happens on family vacations.
I remember him being just like not wanting to leave the hotel because he wanted to watch as much OJ coverage as possible. All of like us kids were like super jacked to go to Worlds of Fun, and our dad is just sitting there on the bed watching wall-to-wall news coverage of whatever this mega event is.
Yeah, family vacations canceled. Yeah. OJ is just trying to evade the cops.
Yeah, no, I mean I get it now from his perspective.
Yeah.
As a kid, I just wanted to ride the Timberwolf. So,
dude. And the Timberwolf was a scary thing in and of itself.
The Timberwolf, even at an older age, it's like going to what I assume. I've never been to a chiropractor, but I assume it's like going to a chiropractor and getting an alignment.
The Timberwolf survived for
beats the crap out of
it. That was my first roller coaster ride, and I did not want to go on any more since.
Really?
Yeah.
I love.
You called it quits. I love the Timberwolf.
I like the Timberwolf. I love the Orient Express. When that was a thing.
I would say it was a bad first roller coaster for anybody. I think you want to go on a newer ride,
not the crickety roller coaster, which is, I guess, fair. But that thing survived for generations. After that
outlasted multiple of their other roller coasters. So but I haven't been in a long time. We discussed going to Kansas City this summer, and a large part of it for me was like, hey, let's get Hudson to Worlds of Fun. I can go on roller coasters. Well,
we can relive my childhood.
Yeah, basically.
It's a great idea. I haven't been to Worlds of Fun in a long time either. I don't know how I'd handle going on the
You don't seem like a rides person.
I had to be really, 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 because I can get peer pressured into just about anything. But like
that tracks.
And so I really had to get peer pressured into doing the Mamba.
Okay.
And I did it. I mean,
it's not. It goes really fast and has a really high drop, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, but it's the climb up. It's
the anticipation.
It's the climb up.
Your brain just goes in a million.
I don't care
places.
about the woos and the
Sure.
the stomach, the pit in your stomach. I'm just scared of the heights the most.
For me, it's the same reason why I don't mind turbulence when we're coming in for the land. It's like I like the adrenaline.
But there's some kind of turbulence.
Very much an adrenaline junk.
Messes you up.
Yeah.
You kind of are an adrenaline junkie.
I like the concept.
Have you ever been on a plane where it landed like in like gale force winds? Like
I've been on some really rough landings. I've been on ones where it felt like you're hitting ice on the runway at the same time, so you're skittering a little bit.
Yep, I hate those.
I mean, have you done the landing where it's kind of like your plane almost lurches to one side because it came in like it didn't come in
sideways?
On the exact angle
because
or
it has
whatever
to fight the wind. The most recent one when we came back from Vegas, we were going directly one of those really, really windy nights. We were going directly into it, and so the plane would when it would let off the thrust, like as we were on our final approach into Epley Airfield. It felt like the plane would just stop in the air, and you'd hear go, and then it'd sink, and then it'd go, and it was just like everything was about that. That one was rough.
Yeah, and none of them are like great, but I don't know.
There's a limit. There's a limit for me.
There's like a little bit of a rush that I get from it.
Yeah, you're a freak.
Look, I acknowledge it.
It's crazy. All right, so like we said, you never know where we're going to go. We usually talk about nothing in the first segment, but we're off and
No, we're
running
talking about G-forces.
on a Thursday. It's Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone.
Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
As the John Bishop projection machine conditionally projects, should Nebraska beat Purdue? Nebraska
All right, morning, everybody. 627. Happer and Schaefer, 1620 The Zone, and on 1620thezone.com. Let's see here. Yes, we have the Get Your Bleep Together 5K sweepstakes going on right now. 1620thezone.com. That will run through February 24th. That is the Get Your Bleep Together 5K sweepstakes, which is pretty self-explanatory. You have a chance to win $5,000. All right. Last night in the Big Ten in basketball, we've birthed a lot of new Big Ten honks around here recently, which is fantastic. We love when more basketball honks enter the scene. What's the deal where I keep like throwing my support behind these teams and then they immediately have embarrassing losses like right afterwards?
It could be you're the new cooler.
It could be.
I mean, you are supporting Creighton and work with Creighton, and they've been terrible.
But last year and the year before they were good, and I was involved those years
what
too.
I'm saying is, since I've moved to Omaha, you now have the cooler effect that I used to have for Nebraska basketball.
So doesn't that make you the cooler in effect? If you're the originating source of the cooler?
Yes, but in the real cooler sense, not the movie sense, you've taken over.
The effective cooler sense. Okay. I'm willing to go along with that. I have another theory.
It's a theory. I'm not saying that it's a law.
Let me proffer another theory. I have, without real like awareness of this, the last 2 days thrown my support behind Iowa-based teams.
Interesting.
Iowa State and then Iowa. Iowa State goes out, and I'm like, I think they can win and I still do, for the record, think they can like win the national championship. And then I'm like, you know what? I think Iowa's really good, and this game coming up on Tuesday for Nebraska is like gigantic. And
it is.
They're sort of scary. And then what do they do last night? And this is after we have a good long conversation about how much Maryland sucks. They go out on the road and they get beat by Maryland in a game that, Iowa, well, I don't know that Maryland controlled the whole way. Obviously, they got it going a little bit late there. Iowa was in control for a majority of it there, and Maryland came back and won. And then I wondered what in the world is going on in the Big Ten. At the same time, looked over to the scoreboard, the old ticker, and I saw that Michigan was not only getting beat, but was getting trounced by Northwestern, puny old Northwestern. Of course, that game, I believe Michigan ripped off a 45-15 or 45-18 second half.
Yeah, it's like they just decided to start playing.
Yeah, they're like, I think we're good with this now, and ended up winning by 12, which I don't know what the line was. I would assume they almost covered, if not covered.
What about the line? I would think the Michigan line would be relatively high just because of how many teams they beat by a large amount.
Yeah. So Northwestern had Michigan had at one point a 29% chance to win the game, and that was when they had their largest lead of the game, which still and they're at that point there's less than 15 minutes to go. Or if you looked at like the live betting lines, it still thought that Michigan was probably going to come back and be a factor in this game. And like you said earlier, we sort of knew it was going to happen, but thought there was a chance that Michigan could get caught up last night. Didn't happen.
It was something like 60-49 with 6 minutes left or whatever. And then at that point, Michigan just kind of took over.
Yep. So there was those two things that were happening last night. And so then you start to sort of look around and keep in mind, Michigan is still free of, they're kind of free of all this at this point because they have their one loss and they have a 2-game separation with everybody else in the league. However, it is important to note that they play Purdue, Michigan State, Illinois, and Iowa, and UCLA, and Duke, by the way, still on their schedule. So their schedule is very difficult. But you look at who teams have lost to, and Illinois has a pretty clear loss resume at the top. They've only lost to Nebraska, Michigan State, and Wisconsin. Michigan has only lost to Wisconsin. Purdue jumped out, like they lost to Indiana, they lost to UCLA. Not that these are bad losses, but ultimately, like conference standings they're going to be partly determined by not only when you lose, but who you lose to, and if they are outside of your bubble. That's why Michigan State's loss to Minnesota is so significant. It doesn't like they're going to be fine as it pertains to like a bracket or a seed line or something like that. It's not going to kill them that much to lose one of those games. But for tiebreakers in the Big Ten Conference, it will. Obviously, Nebraska has lost to only Michigan, Illinois, and Purdue at this point, and they've also beaten Illinois. Unfortunately, won't get second cracks.
And Michigan State.
And Michigan's. But right, I'm just talking about out of those three.
Sorry.
And then, won't get second cracks, unfortunately, at Michigan or Purdue unless they meet in the Big Ten tournament. But you think about it, and Nebraska is, one of the few who hasn't lost to anybody but the teams in the top group. So as far as resumes are concerned, and I saw a graphic going around yesterday, Nebraska has a chance to hold serve and have an argument over all the other contenders in the league, no matter if they are in front of them in the standings or not for seeding, because they have good losses.
Yeah. Well, and then just the conference as a whole, like if you pull up the standings and you look at just the streak column, you have a handful of things like Michigan's won 9 straight and Oregon has lost 10 straight.
Dana Altman, who would hire that guy?
Yeah. Rutgers, 7 straight losses. And then after that, there are a lot of like W1, L2, W2, L1, like just not a lot of teams ripping things off. Now, Purdue is at 3 straight wins. It cannot be underscored enough, the magnitude of that game on Tuesday.
Yep.
Like if Nebraska had won that, they would be in such a position of strength right now.
It's just Nebraska and Michigan at that point.
And they didn't, and so it doesn't matter, and it allows Purdue back into it. But it just kind of shows you this conference, the depth of it is certainly there. I mean, it was a huge win for Ohio State last night against USC because it basically they were sort of a last 4 in type team, and they needed that. And they have to kind of just claw their way into trying to get to 10-10 or 11-9 because I think like 9-10 teams are going to make it out of the Big Ten.
Well, there's been so many times over the last several years, or really any time, where you really appreciate winning on the road and appreciate how difficult it is to win on the road. And just because Nebraska is doing it so consistently this year against lesser than teams, doesn't like it should be more of the reason to be like, whoa, what they're doing is really, really impressive. Because as of now, they're they still have a chunk of their schedule left to play, obviously, with tough road games in there and losable road games in there. So it's not like the job is done or anything like that. But so far, I mean, what Nebraska has done with just one road loss in conference to the one of the best teams in the country, the number 1 KenPom team in the country,
right,
down shorthanded in that game. Not that counts for standings or anything like that. It's really impressive. It's really impressive. And I don't think they make it through unscathed in that category, but you should appreciate it like as it's happening, because you're going to watch on any given night. You're going to look up and you're going to see, whoa, who's in trouble and where are they in trouble? Somebody's in trouble at the rack right now. What's going? One of the contenders is in trouble.
Which was Michigan State just a couple weeks ago.
One of these contenders is in trouble at the cavernous death trap of Penn State. What is going on right now? I forgot Penn State was in the league, honestly, in basketball. But
yeah, I mean, you look at the last 4 teams. So the teams of Rutgers, Northwestern, Penn State, and Oregon, and I can sit here and tell you in detail, every one of those teams had put a scare in one of the top 5 teams, except for Nebraska.
Yep.
They're the one team. I guess Illinois hasn't really been in that category as much. But Michigan twice, Penn State, and Northwestern, they had kind of had to pull things out in both of those games. Now they won by 12 against Northwestern.
I know,
kind of a
but
if
watching.
You watch,
yeah, you're watching
for the duration of that game. They look discombobulated and disinterested. Oregon almost beat Purdue before Purdue went and beat Nebraska at Nebraska. You had Rutgers basically led the entire regulation against Michigan State, let it get away in the last like 30 seconds. Get into overtime and then lose. So like those teams are all dangerous when they're at home, in the sense that anytime you go out and play anybody in this conference, there's a chance that you could lose.
Yep, no doubt about it.
It's unlikely if you show up and you play your C+ or B- game in a lot of these situations, but sometimes that's hard to get to travel.
Yeah, and I think the point with Nebraska is like they
they haven't played worse than a C.
That's what I'm saying. Like they might have the high. I don't even know how you would explain this. they might have the highest floor of, like, if you look at each team in a vacuum, like Nebraska is at the very least going to bring like their B- game every game. It seems like, and at the same time, their A+ game is probably not as good as a variety of other teams' A+ game.
I think that's very fair.
But when you match it up on a game-to-game basis, I mean, you're not going to get everybody's A+ game every night. And so the floor thing is huge.
It's interesting. Like if you go through Nebraska's schedule, because I see you have it pulled up on KenPom over there. What would you say if just going off of gut feel, their worst performance in conference play was so far this year?
I could tell you, Bart Torvik.
I have a couple suggestions. And obviously, I mean, I wouldn't say that any of Michigan, Illinois, or Purdue would qualify, because those are their 3 losses. I would say Illinois, they played at a B to a B+, and Illinois was to an A. Michigan, they played at close to an A, and Michigan played at like a C+, and Nebraska was playing at an A in extreme circumstances.
Right.
And then the Purdue game, I don't know. Purdue played at like a B, and Nebraska was at like a C+ for large stretches of it. And then they played at an A for like one very specific
The
stretch.
C+ part really sunk them.
Well, they played it like a D for a long stretch, and then an A+ for a long stretch.
So if you look at the efficiency now, and this is just effective, this is just that's points per. Let's do adjusted offense and adjusted defense. Their best like total game, if you average it out, and I'm just looking at the numbers,
got to be Wisconsin.
It appears to be, do you count? I mean, it's Oregon.
Okay. You count. You win by 35, but
it's Oregon. They had one of the best defensive performances, like a top 5 defensive performance, and then like a top 3 offensive performance.
They completely kicked the crap out of Dana Altman in that game.
Now the first
just Dana Altman, not the Oregon players.
Why would you hire Dana Altman? The first Illinois game, they had their best offensive performance of the year.
Yeah,
according to Torvik, which
tracks. That was a horrendous defensive day for Illinois.
Right, and then they've been relatively
What's
consistent.
The Wisconsin one? That surprises me. That's a 30-point win.
Wisconsin. Pretty average for them on offense, and then pretty dang good on defense. Yeah. One of their better defensive performances of the year. their best defensive performance of the year, would you like to guess, according to the adjusted numbers?
Michigan.
No.
Best defensive, like counting just conference or non-conference?
Non-conference counts as well.
Creighton?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the worst offensive performances they played.
It was on the low end for him. It was on the low end, but yes, the Creighton game stands as their best effective or adjusted defensive game this year.
You don't remember it because of the way that it played out, but Nebraska wasn't particularly good offensively in that game either. Relative to
because Creighton they couldn't get a bucket and they were kind of in it.
Yeah,
wasn't it like a 10-point game at halftime? I was like, thank God,
it's one of those where it's like this shouldn't be this close.
No.
And yet Nebraska is not making any shots right now.
No, yeah. So something to think about as Nebraska once again continues to show that they have a pretty high floor, which is advantageous, no doubt about it, come around tournament time. We could touch more on them a little bit later on as we go on throughout the show today. We'll take a break and round out the hour coming up next on 1620 The Zone. But first, a word from Underdog Fantasy. Fast breaks, buzzer beaters, block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. You can make picks and win money right now in Nebraska. Playing on Underdog is easy. Underdog. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Get those picks right. You could win up to 5,000 times your cash. So take a look wherever you'd like across the board in the association this week. There is no shortage of options. Maybe some of your favorite alums who have ended up in the association. Check those out. Once again, higher or lower, that's the game. It's that easy. Download the app today. Use promo code Happer1620 to score $75 and bonus entries when you play your first $5. Promo code Happer1620 underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 19 plus and present in Nebraska. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. One follow-up on Nebraska ball's floor. Here's text from the 515. It says, historically, Nebraska's floor has been determined from here until Selection Sunday virtually every year, and they haven't been selected virtually every year. You know, that I wonder if that, because I haven't thought about other years with Nebraska basketball really at all, because I just feel like this team is so.
I think about other years with this team all the time and how they're not like other years.
Right. That's the main thing. They're so different, and they also are built in the way where they sort of are like resistant to swoons, right? And that sort of thing. At least
there's a guy I mentioned yesterday that just was popping off about basically Nebraska's 8-game losing streak is about to start now. And he did that after the Michigan game, and then he was really celebrating after the Illinois game. And then now he's doing it again after the Purdue game.
See, 3 out of 4.
And it's like you just moved your goalpost. It was they're going to lose 8 straight. Now it's 3 out of 4.
Yeah, but and that's not what this texter is saying. But
no, I
is
know.
Saying historically, like this has been this part of the season has been tough to finish out, except for 13-14, where they were doing exactly the opposite, and the rest of the season was the opposite as well. So. Like, finishing strong hasn't always been their strong suit. At the same time, I'm not really worried about it because none of what has happened in the past in Nebraska ball affects this group right now.
Yeah,
I get people being scarred by it.
They have 7 regular season games left, and I think anything from 5-2, I'd be disappointed if it's worse than 4-3, which is kind of insane to say. But 4-3 would put them at 25-6.
Yeah.
And so, that's a loss to Iowa, a loss to UCLA, and just a random loss to somebody else.
That would be like the bottom of the bottom.
Yeah, and I think 6-1 is possible. 7-0 seems unlikely to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not completely unfathomable.
No.
For them to be able to do it.
Nope. No.
There's a part of me that I keep moving what I want to see happen with this season. And so some of it is I'd like to see them break all the records in terms of, their most wins in a season, most wins in the regular season. But it's also I want the year to end with a 3 in their win column, because that has never seemed like an obtainable thing to me.
30 wins is unbelievable.
Yeah. And it's just it doesn't seem like that's out of the realm of possibility. Obviously, I've talked about what a Big Ten title would mean to me in terms of the tournament or even the regular season, which does not seem like
maybe they could request a double bye, a first day in the Big Ten tournament, the anti-double bye, get 2 free wins, build up to 30, and then get bounced to the Big Ten, whatever it is, go all the way, go to the finals in the Big Ten tournament, and then you have 4 more extra wins.
Yeah,
they're just chilling there.
It's a possibility. I think they'd be more okay with the double bye. I'm guessing,
and the rest.
Yeah.
I think they'd be fine.
When we get to that point, there's going to be a big conversation about whether they should even be trying in the Big Ten tournament.
I know.
And I'm already
annoyed by it too.
Very annoyed by that.
I'm already annoyed by the some of the seed talk right now.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, but there's
the big difference between 3 and a 2.
Yeah, they need to be there's what the track is for a what. I guess I get it, but I find myself thinking sometimes we're focused on the wrong things,
Yeah, I think a lot of it is you don't have to focus on getting into the tournament anymore. So now it's
attention to something.
Now
else.
It's build your own fairy tale finish. And
people have different priorities. That's for sure.
Some of us, it's hey, how do they just get to Oklahoma City?
Good topic for tomorrow. What is your priority with Nebraska?
I like that.
What is
that on the board?
Priority?
A good Friday conversation. Be a good one for people to weigh in on. Get some calls, get some texts.
Yeah.
What do you prioritize?
I like it. So we'll get to that tomorrow. But sad news yesterday, and this is more Mike Schaefer territory than it is Connor Happer territory. I was a little too late on the James Vanderbeek run here, but he passed away sadly yesterday at age only 48. But Mike Schaefer knows. Well, did you watch Dawson's Creek?
I was not a big Dawson. I mean, I knew of its existence.
I didn't
but
take
it wasn't,
you as much of a Dawson's Creek.
It was
guy.
not really like a show that I was spending time with.
But Varsity Blues.
Varsity Blues is where like the James Vanderbeek comes in for me.
Right. I don't know where the James Vanderbeek comes in for me, to be honest with you.
Really?
I know him from like it was almost like when he would show up and stuff over the last, because he was such like a 90s, like heartthrob, like one of those guys, or early 2000s. And he would show up and stuff, and it would almost be like this kind of whoa moment that he was there. It was like, whoa, James Vanderbeek is here, and that's sort of how I knew. It was almost like, I guess I don't want to necessarily make comparisons, but like Neil Patrick Harris would show up and stuff, and people are like, whoa, it's Neil Patrick Harris. What is he doing here? That's kind of how I felt about James Vanderbeek.
Interesting. That's an interesting comparison. I mean, both of them probably most famous for their television roles.
Yes.
And a very specific one.
Yes.
Now, I think there's probably at least a segment of people like me where it's Varsity Blues.
Yes.
For James Vanderbeek. But, Dawson's Creek was such a huge
show.
Drama.
Like unavoidable huge show.
So, I mean, there was that. It's one of those where I just rewatched that movie last year, I believe. And Varsity Blues have you seen it? Have you seen the movie? That surprises me that you never ventured into watching it.
Yeah, there's a lot of football movies that that are in my blind spot now that I think about it. I haven't seen
There's not a lot of good football movies, so it's not like you're usually missing out.
We had that discussion. Baseball movies
on a lot of things. This is one that I would consider to be better than average. One of the things that sticks out when you watch it now, though, and more so than certainly when I was younger, where it's like, oh man, party, fun, cool, all of that. It's like, oh wow, they have some interesting commentary on the use of painkillers, on the way that coaches used to treat players,
just see it
on
differently.
Racism, on poverty, on concussions, on all of these different things. Like there's a lot more commentary going on in this movie than like when I was younger, and it's like, oh wow, there's Allie Larder in a whipped cream bikini.
That's the thing I'm most interested in.
So it definitely stood out in a different way, which by the way, Allie Larder is in Landman and somehow looks better now than she did when she was in Varsity Blues.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
I don't know if Matt McMaster knows who she is.
Probably not.
I will inform him, and he will make very inappropriate comments.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at this. Like, it's amazing that I have a pretty good sense of who James Vanderbeek was, and I probably have seen like a grand total of like 2 things that he ever appeared in. He was in an episode of How I Met Your Mother.
Okay.
At somewhere down the line, which hilariously is with
Patrick
Harris. He was in he would show up in sitcom episodes. He was in an episode.
He does a lot of one-off TV appearances.
Yep. Which that's kind of my point. He was kind of like, oh, he just showed up and stuff. It was like, oh, that's James Vanderbeek, but he was playing a character, obviously. And then a variety of different movies over the years. But saw news yesterday, and really, really sad. I mean, especially a guy so young, and then you see the outpouring of people from the showbiz world who are like, yeah, this guy
seemed to be well liked
rocked.
within the industry and all of that. The Varsity Blues, the 3 major male leads of the teenagers, so not John Voight, who's still alive at 87. Paul Walker has passed.
Yep.
James Vanderbeek has passed. They played the 2 quarterbacks. And then Ron Lester was the name of Billy Bob, who was the big lineman that had all the concussion issues.
Okay.
And he got really skinny at one point. And it was really kind of the only role that I think anybody ever really knew him in. And he passed away a few years ago as well.
Wow.
And so 3 guys that never really even reached, I mean, some of them didn't reach their 40s, but Vanderbeek was in his late 40s, I think.
Late 40s, 48.
So
yeah.
Kind of wild to have that attached to it. Scott Conn is like now one of the remaining couple people.
Yeah. Tweeter.
Yeah.
Tweeter.
Scott Conn plays the renegade wild wide receiver who party boy does whatever he wants.
Also, shout out to Amy Smart as well.
Yeah, she was
in every single 90s movie. We will take a break and be back. 7:00 hour coming up on 1620 The Zone. All right, 7:03 on a Thursday. Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. Joey is the keeper of all time and schedules, and he just reminded us right before we turned on the microphones that it's apparently the 1 year anniversary of our show. Congratulations, everybody.
We made it.
We did it.
1 month ago, we were very frazzled. Very, very frazzled.
Some of us were late.
Incredibly frazzled.
We did not know when the show was going to start.
Yep.
Yeah, I was the only person on earth, so that was my bad.
Well, look, I could have asked the question, so I'll take full responsibility.
Yeah, I probably should have disseminated the information.
I'll take full responsibility for that, and we've gone up from here. We've gotten our guest list largely nailed down.
Yeah, we're good. We're consistent on that regard. I cannot wait for a guest next week.
Yeah. Do we give that away now?
Well, we had a discussion about City of the Day yesterday, and we landed on Oxford, Ohio.
Yep.
And we were efforting for a guest from Oxford, Ohio tomorrow, but I think it's going to be next week.
Yeah.
At this point.
And we
have a very, very random coincidence that has
made us decide to wait a week to do it. And that means City of the Day is wide open. If you have suggestions for City of the Day,
great one.
Hit us up on the on YouTube, hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on text.
What we should do is have like a map of the US and just throw a little dart at it, and just wherever it lands, we just look at the nearest town.
I like that. I also like
idea.
the idea of a map of the US, and then we put pins where we've done City of the Day.
That's true. That's
what we should do.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We should definitely have we love physical maps. I love maps.
Well, we could sit right behind me. There's nothing but white space.
Are we bringing back the wall of random?
We have to.
The wall, there's some leadership that has changed.
I
Maybe
know you're going to
appreciate
appreciate this comment. I think we need to redo some things in the studio.
What an interesting take.
It's looked the same roughly since I started, sitting in this chair in 2012.
Yep. At one point, we had a wall of random.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
They took it down to paint.
I keep threatening to get rid of all this crap. I don't know if I can move this enough so people can see the crap.
There's Schaefer's pile of crap. Nice job, Schaefer.
It's not mine.
Yeah, I don't want looks the blame. Like yours. You're the guy who sits there.
There's some stuff over there that just needs to be thrown away. So
just do it. I mean, nobody touches this stuff.
I feel like I need to send an email.
I think McMaster is the only one who utilizes that.
Well,
spot.
there was it was probably a year or two ago. There was a point to we need to get maybe it was last summer during the World Series, but it was get everything out of there.
Yeah.
And that happened. That shelf, whatever that is, was clear for a period of time. And then the stuff started to accumulate again, and all of a sudden it became a junk shelf again.
Yeah.
So that was sad.
It just needs there's just broken headphones over there. It's very annoying to me. Just
graveyard.
throw them away.
Headphone graveyard.
They don't work.
So we so if you want to suggest a city, that would be great. Send in whatever you want.
Give your reasoning, and we will read your reasoning on air for why we selected.
But I am a sucker for topical. If there's a topical city that we need to be discussing of something that's going on, preferably an American city.
Yeah, I think we want to keep it to the United States. If we last long enough that we've exhausted our options inside the United States, we can look international.
If something becomes so topical that we have to dip outside of the continental U.S., then we'll do it.
Like Nate Oates, we believe in the United States first on Happer and Schaefer.
Even if they're in the G League.
We
could do a G League city.
Oh. Do we look at where Bediako's likely to go back and play?
Name any G League city right now.
Portland, Maine, the Maine Celtics. They used to be the Red Claws.
That's no shock that Joey knows this. Trey Alexander plays for the Birmingham team. I just looked this up recently. Birmingham something. Probably alliteration.
We could do just a sort of the Creighton and Nebraska players that are in the G League and which one has the highest amount of points.
Squadron.
It's probably there you go. Thank you, Joey. It's probably Trey Alexander. We would do Birmingham.
I don't know who else is. McGowan's in the G League playing.
I don't know. Where is Bryce McGowan's these days?
I don't know what he was on Portland at one point.
He was on Charlotte.
He's at the Pelicans.
Okay.
Okay. Is he in the league? Is he in the Assoc?
Yeah, he's on the roster.
Okay, there you
Is
go.
he playing?
I'm gonna take a
Has
look.
he got any stats?
That's what I'm looking at.
Gowans.
I mean, there's also this.
He played last night. He had 21 minutes, went 2 for 5 shooting,
There you go.
12 points,
Look at that.
and a 12-point loss to the Miami Heat.
That is the same organization that Trey Alexander is in, but then they combine all the G League teams or whatever.
we could just go to the old standby of Las Vegas if we need something for tomorrow too.
I would love to talk.
I was
Las
just at
Vegas.
Las Vegas.
So,
I would love to talk about.
or
Las
we
Well, 6
wait
months
and we
ago.
build it around the next time that you go out there.
Well, who knows? Maybe it'll be in like 2 months. Or less
Usually
than.
it is in like 2 months.
Yeah,
for
but
you.
there's a different occasion this year. Ever heard of the college basketball crown?
I have.
Maybe.
I have.
Nah, there'd be baseball.
I
games
would
going
die
on.
if you of all people go out to the Crown and watch the Crown in person.
So what I'm hoping for is that like I become a crown influencer just for the bit. You know, like if the crown hits me up is like, you got to talk about this tournament, I'll be like, I'll do it. Of course, I'm the perfect person to talk about it, considering how much I neglected to talk about it last year.
yeah, neglected's the word that you would use.
Purposefully.
You just kind of forgot.
It's a bit. It's a
Just
bit.
show up with your Burger King crown down there. I'm excited for the
I
crowd.
love the crown. I love the crown.
You guys mock, but teams that have won the Crown have made the tournament the next year.
We don't know that yet.
I feel confident.
I do too, for the record.
Feel confident.
Chris writes in, he says, Detroit, the return of Justin Verlander. That could be an option. Although we don't like when positive things happen to the Tigers.
Dude, we didn't even talk about that yesterday. We don't have to.
I don't think we probably will. Brandon says Grant Gibbs, the head coach of the Thunder's G League team. That's right. He is. We
Yeah,
could do
that's
whatever
true.
city they're located in, which it might be Oklahoma City. I think they're the OKC Blue.
Oh, they don't even get to be in a random city. They didn't send them to Tulsa.
Yeah, OKC Blue.
There you go. The Oklahoma City Blue. That sounds fun. Chris says Youngstown, Ohio. And Chris would like a very specific guest to be interviewed.
Carl.
Yeah, he was definitely referring to Carl. What is Bo up to, do we think? I mean, we're all we're talking about former people
Sure.
that used to be in our lives. We haven't checked in on Bo in a while.
That's okay. I don't know if we need to.
Why not? What do we see what
I
Bo's up
assume
to?
that he's just like enjoying a lot of bocce ball and yingling and
I hope Bo's
Cleveland
having
Guardians
fun.
baseball.
I hope Bo is enjoying, like he's found some happiness.
I know Carl has.
I know the last time I remember hearing Bo Pelini's name was when he was on Will Compton's podcast.
That's right. That was probably 2 or 3 years ago
Yeah.
now.
Something like that. He's been off the radar.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's just done.
we don't need another person commenting on things that happened for a while now. This is the Bill Moose thing has filled up our bucket for quite some time at this point. So we got at least another year before who's the next guy to talk.
Now that's a random 5 topic. Who's the next guy to do a remember win about Nebraska football in the last 25 years?
God, what a question. I mean,
Tanner Lee does a tell-all of the 2017 season.
the ticking time bomb is Frost, but that's not going to happen until he's not the coach at UCF anymore, I don't think.
I don't know that it'll ever happen.
Okay. All right.
I don't think he's
That would be the funniest one.
the storytelling type.
No.
He's had opportunity and has largely just protested that he did anything wrong while he was here.
Maybe it's Harv. Maybe it's Harv. Has Harv talked about any of this? Harvey Perlman?
I don't think so. Could be.
He was,
Eichhorst.
yes. Where is Sean Eichhorst?
Because, I mean, Steve Peterson sort of has.
Mike Riley hasn't really talked much about it, although
I don't think he would.
I would be interested in his perspective, but he wouldn't because he would say too many bad things about other people.
I think it'd be a lot more funny if it was like one of the random assistant coaches that was only here for a short, like Hank Hughes writes a book.
There is a great option.
So apparently,
Diaco.
So apparently, Sean Eichhorst is
He's
labeled.
now at North Carolina.
Yeah.
So apparently, Sean Eichhorst is deputy athletics director, chief operating officer of football at Texas.
Yeah, he's been at Texas for a long time.
So he's been at Texas
did
ever
not know
since he got
that.
fired here.
Yeah, he's done.
I figured he
he's
was
very
done.
well liked down there. So I don't think he has to
Interesting.
go anywhere.
Well, he doesn't have to be a very public
Right.
front-facing
Which is-
individual, which is perfect for him.
You know,
Yeah.
which probably would have worked at Nebraska had he not like tried to be a very public individual.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, he was well liked by other people behind the scenes. His football decisions less so.
Moose said yesterday when he went on with Jake and Sipple and Bill Bush on the ticket, and he said something along the lines of like, you know, they made it clear when they pursued me of like what my predecessor lacked. And it was, I mean, Nebraska has been very, very guilty of this many, many, many times.
Swinging wildly in the opposite direction
over a variety of different hires. They look at exactly what the previous person didn't do, and then they get the person who only does those things next. So Bill Moose really, really enjoyed being a front-facing public spokesperson for the university, and was frankly very good at it. I mean, like he connected with people and didn't mind talking to the media and all of those things. Like
there's just this whole there's the other part of the job.
How many times have we said though, like if you just combine this person and this person, then that's a good thing.
Yeah,
if you just combine Scott Frost and whatever, then that's a good thing.
There's also this element where Nebraska has made its hiring decisions and does it in a era that's shifting out. Like part of it is that there aren't athletic directors like Bill Moose anymore, because that era of being an athletic director is largely gone. And now you have these front-facing business types that can both talk to the media, but also are very comfortable poring over the spreadsheets and mining through the data and all, none of which is a strength of Bill Moose's. You know, so
Bill Moose is a idea man,
right?
You know, I've called you an idea man before. And I don't mean that as a derogatory.
Right.
Anyway,
Bill Moose, Brent Yormark are all just shaking hands over here.
Now that's big idea commissioner, man. That's a different guy.
He was big idea AD man.
So let's just do this for a second. If this could possibly be the last time we talk about Bill Moose, possibly ever.
Look, I'm okay with that. I'm also okay if he were to just pop up randomly. I think we've gotten on the other side of all of this, so I'm okay.
Yeah, it's not a controversy or anything. Yeah. It's just like this is a weird thing that happened. It should be noted that first of all, Bill Moose went on the radio yesterday and talked about his book, which was 700 pages, by the way, and told a lot of the same stories that are in the book. So the big picture overarching thing here was that obviously he felt, and this is no doubt given Nebraska's history, that he was interfered with as the athletic director, that he said multiple times yesterday, I didn't know if I had one boss. I didn't know if I had two bosses. I didn't know if I had three bosses. I didn't know who was in charge.
So I think it's still somewhat of an issue.
I didn't like he would say multiple times, I didn't know who was carrying the hammer. He would say in a very Bill Moose way. He also said this thing that's like he goes when he was considering taking the Nebraska job, he was like, I didn't want to be a GIFer. He said that probably 400 times. A GIFer. Like, I wonder what would have happened. Anyway, that's just a Bill Moose-ism. Whether or not there was interference from anyone else, which I completely believe there was, it still doesn't quite reflect well on you if you didn't want to hire the guy and the guy doesn't want the job and he still got hired.
Yep.
Like, whether or not that he felt it was predetermined that Scott Frost was going to be the head coach at Nebraska and he had no say in it whatsoever, which it feels like is ultimately the bottom line that we get to here. It still doesn't really reflect well on you that ended up happening. He also said yesterday that Scott Frost should have been the head coach at Nebraska, just not at the time he was hired as the head coach at Nebraska. And that's a totally different set of circumstances.
Well, and I think Frost has even said basically the same thing. Like, it was sooner than he wanted to do it. But at the same time, like, everyone that was in control of making that decision all made the decision that led to where it went. Which, whatever, that decision gets made, you don't have to compound it with then a series of really bad decisions that follow. Like, that's the part of the conversation.
It could have gone a lot better when he was here.
And it's like, okay, it wasn't the timing that you wanted. What did you do to then help yourself when you were here instead of just continuing to dig bigger holes and put yourself in them and then suddenly eventually have no way to get out of the hole?
And Moose's point was, a lot of that is the interference that he was met with.
From Moose's side of it?
From Moose's side of it. And Frost, would at times go up over his head on big picture things and get clearance from those people. And then Moose would hear it on high, like, hey, this is kind of the way this is going.
I don't think there was a lot of mutual respect or admiration there at a very early point in that relationship.
From Frost to Moose? Yes. That's pretty clear.
I mean, part of it is
although Moose was generally complimentary except for the initial first impression and all that stuff. He's like, I think Scott Frost is good, like all that stuff. It just was the wrong place, wrong time.
Sure.
Which they all tried to convince us at the time, including Frost himself, that it was the right place and it was the right time. And like, I remember in his introductory press conference, because I was there, of like, no, even though he had his doubts behind the scenes, which we now know about, and we knew about, not long after that, he had his doubts that the lineup, the linear nature, the top down nature of what he needed wasn't there. He told us that it was, at first. And so, that's just another thing to throw in the mix.
Yeah. Look, this is a very, very simple Nebraska story that has been true for a long time. A lot of people want to be involved in the decision-making of Nebraska football, whether it's the head coach, whether it's the athletic director, whether it's been the chancellor of the university, whether it's been the president of the university in like a Hank Bounds capacity, whether it's been regents, Jim Pillen.
Whose job is it to not allow it then? Like whose job is it?
You need a central, so part of when things were successful and people don't like him, but Harvey Perlman controlled things.
Yeah.
Like this is the whole Jim Delaney conversation.
I mean,
right?
Trev, I think, had the right idea and got so frustrated by it that he just did.
He wanted to operate in a manner, and other people have other ideas, and they have their level of power. And then you have the whole dynamic that exists between the state government and the university and everything that's going on there that we don't have to dive into. Like, there's just a lot of layers to all of this. But ultimately, as I have gotten older, and this is not like any sort of, this doesn't need to resonate beyond sports, but you look at figures like Jim Delaney or Harvey Perlman or Tom Osborne to an extent, and their ability to not only amass power, but control power, but also prevent other people from meddling, allows them to at least enact their vision.
Yeah.
And so
they had an identity.
And when that happens and it aligns with things that go well, Jim Delaney being a good example, I think Harvey Perlman worked well as Nebraska's chance. They're in a much better spot being in the Big Ten and his involvement with Tom Osborne and getting him there than if
until he got frustrated with Bo and it turned different. Yeah.
There's definitely missteps for all of these people. But when you don't have that and you have this essential vacuum, like they've had a couple chancellors now since Harvey Perlman and Ronnie Green and I can't think of his. I don't think it's Rodney Bennett.
That is correct. Yeah.
Is it Rodney? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's tendered his resignation.
Yep.
So they're going to have another chancellor.
Chancellor alert.
They completely cut down the amount of power those people have. It feels like the regents have increased theirs. Ted Carter was given an overwhelming amount of power and then was just like, I'm going to Ohio State. So there's been people that have made plays. Like Ted Carter was probably going to be the biggest figure in all of this, and he left to go to Ohio State.
Yep.
And so then that leaves a vacuum. And then now Jim Pillen, who is one of the biggest regents behind the scenes, is a governor.
The thing that I'm trying to figure out, like, is there a way where this doesn't exist? And this
all feels so Games of Thrones to me, by the way.
And the way that we describe it, it's like, I mean, there's an element to that. It's happening right now. There's a lot, like it is like ingrained in the DNA of the state that, like you said, a lot of people have a lot of opinions on the way that they want to see Nebraska football work and who they want in charge of it and who they want in charge of the athletic department and things that even some more specific things like playing the Oklahoma game or like whatever it might be. Like there's just a lot of people who have different opinions on it. And the way I see it, like, does that go away? And can you get the right people in charge to get, to finally have people who have those opinions and are way, way up who say, okay, let's just let this guy do his job. Is that ever going to happen? Like, or is Nebraska just going to be fighting this for eternity?
And are you potentially losing good people, Ted Carter, Trev Alberts, because they don't want to deal with this dynamic?
Right.
The answer to that kind of feels like yes. So you have it on both ends where it's like the people that have ascended past the muck no longer want to deal with it, so they've left. Then there's the people who either don't have enough power, don't have the ability to rise above it, that just get trampled over, which I would argue would be like Green and Bennett and other people of that nature. Like it's
Moose described a variety of different situations where apparently Ronnie Green was just cowering in fear when he was delivering some sort of message.
None of those.
And I love Ronnie Green.
Some of what's been interesting to me is as much as it's like Bill Moose's point of view, there's a lot that like is backed up by other conversations with other people that I've had.
Yeah.
Like Jim Pillen has long been a big force over there, well before he became the governor. Ronnie Green was not widely respected, it seems like, by almost anyone, faculty to athletic. So there's a lot that does track, even as someone who's like, yeah, I mean, this is coming from a very one-sided point of view.
We'll take your thoughts on that if you have it. 402-951-1620. You can call or text that number. Of course, send us a tweet at Happer and Schaefer or at Connor Happer at Mike J. Schaefer. We'll be back with more of Happer and Schaefer after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, last night, Creighton lost to DePaul for only the second time in their time being in the Big East. 23-2 now, I believe, is the record. Sort of predictable. I kind of felt like it was going to be a tough game to win. That doesn't make it.
You were not espousing confidence yesterday.
No.
Which I think is the safest thing to do with this basketball team.
I think it's been so weird at the end of games for them that I think you could kind of bank on that unless you're playing one of the big dogs of the league, and like the St. John's and the UConn game are going to be really, really difficult coming up here. But which makes the loss last night, if you think about it from that picture, which I don't know that anybody really is anymore. They've lost 4 out of 5 and losing to DePaul last night. And then now you go into this Villanova, UConn, St. John's stretch before you go right back into DePaul, Providence, and Butler to finish up the season. But 13-12, 7-7 in the Big East. There's certainly there's a big differentiating factor between the top 3 teams in the league and then the rest of them at this point. I do want to say this though, and I said this last night on Twitter, but I said, like, this is definitely 14-15. Schaefer needed me to, I'll sort of explain that. So 14-15, as Joey mentioned earlier, was the year after Doug left, and that, big long run that ended in Creighton being in the Big East. And there was still questions at the time of like what they were going to be when they joined the Big East Conference. And then they had this team where it was pieces from the year before, a couple of them, new guys that were brought in, and it was sort of a random assortment of guys who had been around for a long time, and then a couple of transfers that they got, and they had to kind of piece it together. And they played in a bunch of close games, like a lot of close games. They had a couple nice wins. Like one of their, I think their marquee win and their best feel-good win of the season was on the road at Nebraska, the year after Nebraska went to the NCAA tournament, and they went down there and won. They also beat Oklahoma, who ended up being really, really good at the beginning of the season, and like a sort of a magical night pre-Thanksgiving at home. Had a couple good wins, but all these games were close. And people sort of like, in hindsight, like that team because they, on paper, weren't going to be very good, but ended up maximizing. And I understand completely that is the difference between this team and that team. This team isn't maximizing, I don't think. Now, at the same time, I do think there is a line there. For some reason, this group gets referred to like they're a bunch of mercenaries who don't care at all and don't play hard. And I think we have enough evidence at this point to suggest that is not, like, maybe at the beginning of the season, it didn't look right and you wondered about what was going on behind the scenes and whatever, which I don't know that there anything ever really was. I just don't see that with this group. Not now, certainly not over the last couple weeks. And it hasn't been a consistent product, and people have a hard time dealing with that because it just has been a consistent product around here for so long. And that's why the record is what it is. And the pieces might not be elite, and they might not be maxing out as to like what this group possibly could be. But they do seem to be grasping the playing hard part now. Like, and that's when, like I always say this, you don't get good like home environments or, people rallying around the team unless there is a really likable quality about them. And usually that starts from the playing hard, playing with effort, going down to the wire, like hanging in there in games, taking, having these big runs in games, surprising people. Right. And I do think this team has, for as much as they lack, and certainly they lack in the win column, they have found a way to get to that point this year, which I think is it's a very small consolation prize in a season that is not going to end where anybody wants them to or where anybody thought they would. But I don't think this is like a detached from detached from every other team, detached from, the Creighton, the part that made Creighton. Like, I don't think this is that far detached from that. At least as much as people seem to refer to it as. That's my vibe right now. Maybe I'm too close to it. Like, obviously, I don't know how you see it, Schaefer. But I wanted to say that because I don't feel like this team is getting enough credit for being present, And I get it. Like, it's a bunch of guys who came in and made a bunch of money in NIL, like, and I think, but I believe it's overly simplistic to just say, oh, well, Owen Freeman got paid this and Josh Dix got paid this and Blake Harper got paid and whatever, and it's a team full of mercenaries. Like, no, I think these guys really care and try. It just hasn't fit the way anybody has wanted it to.
Yeah, from just my perspective of it, I don't think it's an effort thing. I don't think they play well together. Like, those are two entirely different things.
Some of that is just like, first of all, the roster construction,
right?
And then second of all, the injury piece, which it's been up and down the entire year with guys in and out of the lineup.
Well,
so I don't disagree with that.
You don't have a feel for, Josh Dix and Owen Freeman played together at Iowa, and so they might have a feel for what it looks like when they're on the court together. But for those other guys, when Owen Freeman misses 15 games and then comes back in, and you kind of have to work him into the rotation, you have to figure out what you're going to do there. I mean, you talk a lot about, certainly more than I do, because I don't think about it as much as this, but every coach says it, whether it's Kugler or any of the announcers say it, the connected piece of Nebraska.
Yeah.
You can tell that even if it's Frager, who was redshirting last year, he and Hoiberg and Sanford all have a functional feeling where the other guy is at all the different times.
Absolutely. And they know what their roles
offense.
are. They know what their roles are. They know what they're supposed to do. And Creighton's had a different leading scorer like every game this year.
Part of why Nebraska's passing works is if they have a feel for this guy is going to be in this spot. He might not be there right now, but we're working the ball over to there, and that's where we're setting things up. With Creighton, it doesn't look and act like they have that chemistry on the court, and so you get these weird discombobulated moments in games. You get and I'm saying efforts in terms of just performances, not like, again, I think they're playing hard. Like Owen Freeman,
I agree with everything.
Owen Freeman, if he wasn't going to try, would not be playing right now.
Yeah. Owen Freeman had great minutes last night.
So, I don't think it's an effort thing. I think it's they haven't figured out how to play as a group. I think some of it is that they've done so much mixing and matching that in games there's no chemistry.
Yep.
Sometimes you have a group of five, and I don't know anything about Creighton, so feel free to correct me.
I think you're right about everything so far.
Sometimes they have a group of five where it's like, is he just throwing this out there to see what it looks like?
I think there's been a lot of throwing lineups at walls this year.
It doesn't even feel like these guys are in the same practice together, and yet they're out on the game.
Sometimes they're not.
Yeah, and
that's the problem. Like,
that makes it really hard to find any flow offensively, let alone defensively. They're just not built in the way that they want to play.
Correct.
And so if you have and you talk about this with Nebraska, like, if your defense isn't playing to the level you want, and then it affects your offense, the whole thing comes down. And you look at their schedule, and you go back to December 30th, they play Butler. In that stretch, they've won 5 games. It looks like they've lost 7. Because they're what, 7-7? So yeah, that makes sense. They were 2-0 before. Their most points they've won by is 4. They just, even when they're winning, they're having to survive to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And usually almost all of their wins are accompanied by games where they played better offensively. All of their larger losses are the ones where the offense just can't get off the mat. The defense just gets steamrolled.
I mean, 3 of the wins were frankly unbelievable during that period of time. At the same time, at least 2 of their losses were unbelievable as well.
The Seton Hall,
the Seton Hall game, and I think the Providence game too, where they just kind of fell apart.
The Providence one, though, that was at the apex of their bad defense. That was, I mean, when Bishop is basically, without really trying to lay it on too thick, saying how uncontested some of these looks are.
Yeah.
Because I was listening, I left an establishment, was driving home, and had kind of a 30-minute drive of listening to Bishop. And I think I'd even text you because that was our first week of doing the show together. I was texting you, and I was like, "Does it look as bad as it sounds?"
I probably said yes,
and you were like, "Yes." But you didn't put any more detail than just
indeed,
yes.
indeed,
Indeed, it was.
And so, yeah, I think you hit all of it. You know, you were gonna be a team that needed to have a really elite and connected offense, and it's just been too inconsistent because of things that some of it is out of their control, some of it isn't, some of it goes back to before the season and the way the roster is constructed. But I don't know. I hope, and I guess we'll see how it finishes out, and maybe there's a reason or two to be to feel good about it down the stretch. But I felt during that 14-15 season, although it was soul crushing to see them lose the way they lost, just night in and night out, there was this, you know what? I think we're going to be okay from the fan base. And I don't know that I necessarily sense that this year, which is, I don't know, maybe it's part of the changing times in college.
I think it's a lot to do with the NIL aspect.
The NIL aspect, and then the uncertain nature of MAC, obviously, as well. I think they're going to be okay. I'm not certain of it, but I wasn't certain of it in 14-15 either, because it was their second year in the Big East, and nobody knew if they could acquire the requisite talent necessary to play in the league, and they did. And so I don't know. I think there's enough there to be oh, they'll figure it out. Whoever's in charge and whoever's on the team.
Some of it would be if you had a good sense of what was returning for next year, which I think is kind of what sits over this entire conversation. If you knew for sure that Hudson Greer was coming back, and you knew that you could sort of have this offseason to try to build up around Owen Freeman or whatever else. You don't really know that.
No.
And in this era and this is the dynamic with Nebraska that existed prior to this year even, you get these wild off seasons where it's 5 of their top 7 players are people that didn't play here before. This is going to look weird. It's going to take time.
For a while.
Yeah.
And so I think this is important to note too, and I've said this before, Dixon and Graves are gone next year just because they're out of eligibility. I guess you don't know, but they are. And
eligibility is just a made up construct.
It is fake. But there's a world where it's Swartz and Harper and Freeman and Jason and Fedor and Hudson and and Trout and a lot of those guys are back, and it makes up a coherent real life basketball team next year. Think about that
you
too.
Fill in around it with the pieces you sort of they probably have to find a different big to play if they want to play that defensive style.
Maybe they grow around it. And Freeman has an off season where
or you change up what you're doing defensively,
right?
Because I just don't know. I don't know that you can play the Ryan Kalkbrenner style of defense without someone like that. And I don't know how easy it's going to be to go find. You're certainly not getting someone like that.
No,
but even a 30%
not right away,
version
anyway.
Of that.
Yeah,
that's hard. Those aren't just out there, and if they are, you're paying a lot of money.
But they would, if they would have felt if they felt like they were better individually defensively, then they wouldn't have to play drop 5s with Jason all the time.
Sure,
and that's just kind of where they're at right now. So there's a lot there, but it's it's been a tough season. I wasn't necessarily surprised by the way things ended up last night. By the way, if there's any controversy about this or any conversation, I think DePaul got the timeout before the guy stepped on the end line. That would have been crazy if for a second game in a row a guy stepped on the end line and Creighton got a turnover because of it. But not to be last night in Chicago. We'll take a break. Joey has the headlines when we return on Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. 750, Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer with you, 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. The Black Keys are coming to Omaha with the Peaches and Cream Tour on Monday, July 20th at the Astro. Pre-sale tickets are on sale at 10 a.m. today, so just in a couple hours. Tickets go on sale to the general public Friday at 10, tomorrow at 10 through Ticketmaster. So if you want to get that pre-sale code today, it is ZONE, ZONE. Use the code for the Black Keys concert in Omaha on July the 20th at the Astro. More details online, 1620thezone.com. Let's get some headlines, Joey. I'm surprised that you didn't chime in on the Creighton conversation. Do you have any takes, by the way?
Oh, man.
You have takes. I see them on Twitter.
I know you got
That's why
takes.
it was a little weird.
I listened to Blue Jay Overreaction back when you were hosting it. Blue Jay Overtime, sorry. And
I was a little checked out at the very
You
end
do
just
it
because
too.
I was a little checked out at the very end just because they had a 3-point lead. They had multiple possessions with that lead, and there was just a lot of dribbling out the clock and then just a last second desperation heave that was
also
nowhere near the rim.
had a timeout in your back pocket at the end of the game last night.
If you look at the highlights, you could see Josh Dix trying to get a timeout with 2 seconds left when Creighton was already past.
I
Just
saw it.
Couldn't get it.
Sad. Okay. Let's hit the headlines.
First headlines out in Towson, Maryland. This is paramedic faces charges after allegedly urinating on supervisor's desk in a pot of chili at work.
Whoa. Now it's kind of the story. It's in the headline, but
I always forget the rules. Am I allowed to know the second headline?
I think so. I give him the option here.
Okay, the second one is Raising Cane's files lawsuit as landlord tries to evict them for chicken smell.
I mean, that is more the headline is the story. I can't imagine.
Yeah, I think you go to the
first one is what we're
the first one.
Yeah.
I will say that if it was not as salacious with the first one, the second one I would have interest in, just because I want to hear why the landlord didn't think it would smell like chicken.
Yeah, we could make fun of that person. But yeah, I agree. The first story is the best.
Give us a urinating paramedic.
In the pot of chili?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is in Towson, Maryland. A Maryland paramedic is facing nearly 24 criminal charges. The guy's name is Christopher Carroll, and he's accused of urinating in various places at his workplace, including a refrigerator and a pot of chili.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know why. I don't have the ability to answer that question right now. Defense attorney Seth Atkins said Thursday at Carroll's court hearing, paramedic with the Baltimore County Fire, leaving his bodily fluids, including urine, all over the workplace.
All right, so let's pause. Not only is he urinating in a variety of different things or on a variety of different things, he is recording himself doing this. This is the telltale sign of an idiot.
Yeah. Just put him in jail, throw away the key.
All right, continue.
So investigators said locations included on his supervisor's keyboard, in a refrigerated communal coffee creamer at the Public Safety Building in Towson, and in a large ice maker at Fire Station 2 in Pikesville.
Not the ice maker. Take anything else, not the ice maker.
What is wrong with
you? Can pee on whatever you want, not the ice maker.
So prosecutors said Carroll urinated into the ice, whipped on a scoop, and used the scoop to mix the urine throughout the ice in the ice maker before making a thumbs.
Whoa.
A thumbs up.
Urinated into the ice, wiped on a scoop. Wiped?
Yes.
Okay, on a scoop.
And use
the scoop to mix the urine throughout the ice like a boiling cauldron in the ice maker before making a thumbs up gesture to the camera. And then he put this on the internet? Or he just had these videos?
I think he just had prosecutors claim Carroll filmed himself and posted the videos online in an effort to make money selling them on subscription websites.
This is
the
internet was a mistake.
Now we don't kink shame, but in this case we do.
It's not even a kink.
I mean, he just said it just basically explained how he's putting it on subscription-based websites.
Influencer. That's what he is.
So there's a little more. So the father didn't want to talk about the 23 criminal charges and the long list of additional allegations that came out during the bail hearing. The state said there is more video showing Carroll also contaminating a carton of orange juice and soap in the bathroom, someone's chapstick, a can of vegetables, an air conditioner vent in the firehouse, and a can of scented room spray in his doctor's office waiting room. Hawkins said there are a lot of allegations to review, but they are enough for anyone sitting in the courtroom to react
I
to.
would imagine so. You got enough. I mean, I assume there's probably a handful more of instances of this happening that we don't even know about yet, but I think you have your case. And it's closed.
Does it say how much money he's made?
No, it does not.
Great question.
It does not.
I'm there's just curious what the cost of, like what is it worth to Christopher Carroll financially to be this guy?
I mean, it better be worth the risk. And the risk is everyone knows that you pee in
the risk is being the piss influencer for
and
the rest
then
of your
going
life.
to jail. Yeah.
Where you won't be able to make videos.
Mike writes in on YouTube, don't put it on the internet that I peed in the ice maker, or do put it on the internet in this guy's case. Nice. All right, Joey, we appreciate it. What a story.
Yeah, it was quite something out of Maryland.
We will keep our eyes open. Be aware.
A lot happens, you notice, on the East Coast. Initially, this started with animal stories on the West Coast.
We usually get a lot.
And then we got some heavy Florida man, and now we've had the Mid-Atlantic with North Carolina and Maryland on a few things.
Oh yeah, the Little Caesars.
Interesting. Maybe we head to the Midwest soon.
Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of Midwest.
Somewhere in Oklahoma.
We went international with the guy in the artillery shell.
Was that in Australia?
That was in France. That was in France.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I think it was Paris.
Maybe we hit up Arkansas or Oklahoma next or something like that.
Oh, there should be something out of Arkansas.
All right, those are the headlines. We'll be back after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer, Joey Colbert with you this morning, just past 8 o'clock here in Omaha. 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. Mike Schaefer just brought this to my attention. Okay, so I don't know what this is. PFSN College. Matt McMaster follows it, so it must be like this very, very underground situation that nobody
it's
really knows
advanced analytics and data around your favorite college sports team.
I don't know where they're getting the advanced analytics or data, but here it is. Highest graded FBS running backs in the last 5 years per their own college running back impact metric, which once again, I don't know the details on what goes into this, but here is the list. Number 1, Ashton Genty in 2024. I believe he was good. Number 2, Emmett Johnson, Nebraska, 2025, in front of Tyler Algiers, 21 at BYU, Taj Brooks, 23 at Texas Tech, RJ Harvey's 24 at UCF, Cam Scadaboo's last year at Arizona State, Bijan Robinson's last year at Texas, Jordan James, LJ Martin, Cody Schrader, and Sean Tucker above all of them on the list as far as running back impact metric, which I would assume tries to impact or tries to measure, like value for your value to your team and that sort of thing, which in that category, I could see it. Now, does that mean that he's going to be a better pro than Cam Scadaboo or Bijan Robinson? I don't think so. Think about, Scadaboo's team went to the playoff. Bijan Robinson's team went to no, I don't think they made the playoff.
No, Bijan and the Falcons didn't make the playoffs.
No. The Texas.
Oh, no, they did not.
But they also had really good players around them during that time.
The year before they went and lost to Washington.
I believe that's right.
Yes,
I believe that's right.
Yeah.
But Genty was like the only guy on the Boise State team, obviously, and then Emmett was, history will suggest that he was the only person on the Nebraska team from last year as well. Although I don't know that history will really think much about the 2025 Nebraska football Cornhuskers.
I don't think it will. I don't know that even we around here will spend a lot of time on it. Would you like another PFSN metric that looks well for Nebraska's upcoming season?
Yeah, I'm starting to get skeptical, Schaefer. I almost said Josh. I'm starting to get skeptical.
Okay, well, even if you're skeptical, I'm still telling you what it is.
Okay.
The highest graded returning FBS quarterbacks per PFSN's college quarterback impact metric. There's names like Jaden Maeva. There's Julian Sand.
Mm-hmm.
There's Devin Dampier. There's Brendan Sorsby. There's Darian Mensah. There's Gunnar Stockton. There's Damon Williams. There's Anthony Tony Colandrea.
Not surprising once again, considering he was like the only guy on his team. I'm sure they had good players at UNLV, but if you're trying to assign value to a guy, like you're trying to do the math based, and I don't know what goes into this formula.
So what they have for their NFL, which I assume is the same for college, is it assigns letter grades based on a combination of passing, rushing efficiency, volume, and situational clutch factors.
Yeah.
It emphasizes stable metrics like clean pocket and EPA per rush over less stable, volatile.
Like volume is probably the biggest word in there, according to just based off of the list that we've seen here. Like Colandrea, there's a lot of volume. He was what? Was he their leading rusher last year, or was he their second leading rusher?
He was second, I believe.
And then obviously he was their starting quarterback, so all the passing game stuff came from him as well. Like that's a pretty high volume. You are responsible for whatever happens on, basically all the plays.
Second.
Yeah. How much did the leading rusher have?
1,036 yards.
And Tony had what, 600?
649. Yeah. Third guy had 438. They ran the ball well at UNLV.
That's good.
Basically.
That's good. Emmett Johnson was responsible for, I don't know, I'm just guessing, like 89% of Nebraska's offense last year. That's not true.
How many more yards did UNLV put up as a team than Nebraska did last year?
How many yards did they put up?
They had over 6,200 yards of offense. I don't feel like Nebraska got that close. Could be wrong.
6,200 yards. Let's see. Nebraska offensively here. 370.5 yards per game.
Yeah, so they had basically 3,800 yards to UNLV's 6,200 yards.
That is a big difference.
Pretty big, yeah.
So Nebraska does get the production from Calandria, and they lose the production from Emmett Johnson, who apparently had the second best running back season, according to this weird random analytics website.
We should ask Matt for more information about
Please.
PFSN.
Please tell me more. Please tell me more about this. All right, let's go here, and we'll talk to Brian Christopherson of Husker 24/7 coming up here in just a couple minutes. Did you see? Oh, you're gonna love it when I say this. Did you see this? Did you hear about this?
I love it when you say that.
Mike Schaefer yesterday. There was an announcement from the Big 12 conference. From the Big 12 conference, and well, actually, they teased this about a little more than a week ago, maybe. They were like, something big is coming. We're going to do something. And people were like, whoa, what are you going to do? And in very new Big 12 brand fashion, it's something that is more material than anything else. However, it is kind of cool. Joey, we don't have to hear sound on this, so I'm just going to put the video up. This is what you will see in the Big 12 basketball tournament this year. This is a glass floor. An LED glass floor. So they can change everything. Pushing a button on an iPhone somewhere as they're doing. This would be a thing in both their men's and women's Big 12 basketball tournament. So I imagine they'll use it to put different ads and things like that into the conversation. But sort of interesting and cool, I think. And once again, I'm starting to feel very, very differently about Mr. Big Idea Commissioner Man coming up. The conference is debuting this floor. It is made by ASB Glass Floor, a full state-of-the-art LED video sports floor that will be at the men's and women's basketball tournament in Kansas City. Of course, coming up next month. It is described as a next-generation high-performance sports floor that meets the standard of modern hardwood courts. Integrated LED technology beneath the playing surface unlocks dynamic, interactive digital graphics and capabilities impossible on traditional courts. Vetted at the highest levels, used during events such as the NBA All-Star Game in 2024, as well as the EuroLeague professional games and FIBA-sanctioned competitions. The digital court enhances the fan experience in both in-arena and on broadcasts. You could do real-time branding, in-game activations. So imagine like the FNBO Dash for Cash. Like you could just, which they have spotlights up there that put the spotlights on, but you could do it digitally and with the floor. And it probably looks a lot cooler. So there you go. This is the Big 12 making the jump in innovation yet again. I'm sort of jealous. So this is my topic. I'm sort of jealous of the Big 12. The Big 12
being innovative.
The Big 12 has an identity. The Big 12 has created an identity for itself. And this is just one of the very small examples to suggest this. But, it was sort of viewed as this wacky conference with a bunch of randos in it. And I think...
Don't know that changes.
That's definitely not untrue at this moment. But they have sort of attempted to present themselves as the new age, like tech heavy, sleek. Now that doesn't always work. Sometimes the old guard always, wins, and we know what the money is in the SEC and the Big Ten. But if you're going to be not the SEC and the Big Ten, the Big 12 is doing it right.
Yeah, there's a lot of different examples you could use to kind of explain what they're attempting to do, but they feel like they want to be a disruptor to what the standard of expectation for college athletics is. And so a lot of what they do is in an effort to get attention, to make themselves look unique, to play into the fact that they're not the SEC or the Big 12.
Right.
And this court goes to that as well. The thing is, and I think you kind of touched on this, and I think you used the word, what, materialistic, or I don't know what, which exactly. A lot of it feels superficial.
Mm-hmm. It presents an image, though.
It does. And here's the thing, like, at least in basketball, even as someone who doesn't watch a lot of Big 12 basketball, you just know that conference is stacked. So you have Kansas, but you have Arizona now, and then you have BYU now, and you have Houston now, and you have TCU now, and you have like all of these different things that even when traditional teams like Kansas State or Oklahoma State are not what they have been, the traditional team like Iowa State, who somehow didn't get mentioned in the first 6 teams, I said, like there's just a loaded basketball conference, so they can afford to kind of do the superficial thing and also be like, well, yeah, but our product is so good.
Exactly. And
it's harder to do that in football. They can own that in basketball.
But I appreciate it from that perspective because, like, I don't know, not to be too oversimplistic, the Big Ten and the SEC feel like trust fund conferences from the perspective of like
think of the SEC in basketball terms, really.
Yeah, I'm just talking about overall, like conference wide. Like they feel like
the Big Ten definitely more trust fundy than the SEC.
We have a bunch of money, and there's really nothing that you could tell me that is going to change that. And they are correct.
Yeah,
they run college athletics because of that, and so it's true. But I don't like how they look. I don't like their images. And conference image is important. It's not the end all be all, right? Like it's just sort of it's just image. It's exactly what it is, exactly what it sounds like. But I don't know. I get this weird taste in my mouth when I think about the Big Ten and the SEC, and with the Big 12, I'm like, man, good for you guys. Like and I don't say that in like a pat on the head, like a derogatory way. I say it as like, I actually think this is cool. And if I could make it work from a money perspective, I would like to be with you, but I can't.
I'm going to make a very bizarre marketing comparison that won't make a ton of sense for a lot of people. So maybe I shouldn't even do it, but
I think you should do it.
What the Big 12 and Brent Yormark specifically represents to me, and I listened to like a book on this. I kind of lived through it. It feels in a lot of ways like Sega when it took on Nintendo. In order to be different, Sega's branding was marketed towards teenagers. It was very loud. It was at that time in the late 80s, early 90s, viral. Like their messaging and their advertising and everything about their branding was so different and unique than the traditional sort of children's style video game branding that Nintendo was. And they wanted to position themselves in such a way that they knew they couldn't attack Nintendo head on.
Right.
Like they couldn't capture the hearts and minds by just winning, by doing what Nintendo was doing. They had to do it their own way, and they had to capture their own people. And Sega ran into their own problems for different reasons, and we'll see what happens with the Big 12. But often when I see Brent Yormark do stuff, it makes me think of like how Sega's vision was, we can't be that. And frankly, we don't want to be that. We want the people who look at that and think, not for me. And I kind of appreciate it.
I do too.
In a world where
I'm
everyone
jealous.
Wants to either follow the leader or be the leader or whatever, they're at least looking at it like, hey, we're never going to be the old money of the Big Ten. And we are a collection of random schools. So we don't have this like cohesive geographical identity. But what we can do is really lean into trying to paint everybody else as like uncool and stodgy and boring. And we're going to lean into being unique and innovative. Will it save them? Will it lead to multiple championships in football? I don't know.
I don't know either. But like, think about it. I think there are modern college athletics stories to suggest that. I mean, look, we just got done talking for 2 months about Indiana winning a national championship in football, about what Nebraska basketball is doing, and one of the things that connects those two is that they are not beholden to tradition,
Sure.
and they don't have to like impress people because of what they had. And like they lost all their brands. The Big 12 lost all their brands. Texas and Oklahoma are gone. They
Kansas
used to run
basketballs are like sort of sole remaining brand.
like Nebraska's gone. Texas A&M's gone. Colorado's gone. Not that Colorado had any pull on anything or whatever, but they're not beholden to the tradition because they've sort of reformed and reshaped themselves over the years by what they've lost. And they're like, yeah, I think we can cut out a nice little lane for ourselves. And they do. I'm not saying that everything they do is good. They'll take risks and come up empty sometimes. But I am when I look at that conference, I am jealous because of the way they look. I hate the way the Big Ten looks. I hate the Big Ten. I've said this many, many times before. And obviously the SEC is its own thing. But like I appreciate what they're attempting to do.
I think, and this isn't really where we started this segment, but it's kind of where I'm taking it now. I'd be curious how you would feel about it. I think the Big Ten should be thanking its lucky stars that Indiana emerged the way that it has, because it represents in its own way a disruption within a very boring looking conference.
No doubt.
Kurt Cignetti and Indiana doing what they did shakes up the very bland picture of what the Big Ten has largely been. Even when they've added from outside.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Like
they went out and they got Nebraska, didn't really disrupt things. They went out and they added Maryland and Rutgers, and that wasn't going to disrupt things. They added those 4 teams on the West Coast, and USC hasn't risen to a level where it's disrupted things. It happened from Indiana, changed kind of how you think about the Big Ten, other than it just being the Ohio State, Michigan, and everyone else kind of conference.
See, I don't even think you need like disruption. I just think you need an identity. I just think you need to be who you are. And the problem
have an identity.
I don't know. Like the Big Ten it used to be what it like when Nebraska, around the time Nebraska joined it, it was what it was. Like what everybody thought about the Big Ten when Nebraska left the Big 12, that's what it was.
Some of it is having 18 teams changes that.
Exactly. And it didn't care that it was that. And I think over the time that Nebraska has been in the Big Ten, they've acquired new teams, they've got new TV markets, they've got 6 new schools, and now you're in this money-making, revenue distributing like TV thing and this like we have to make the most money possible, we're going to distribute the most money. And they've like totally leaned into that. They've leaned into being the money conference. Yeah, and not that they weren't before, but they at least didn't like present themselves that way before.
No, they presented themselves as stodgy elitists. Now they're stodgy elitists that are bean counters.
And then the style was boring and this and this. Like I feel like there's been this very, very unclear identity of what their conference actually wants to be viewed as over the last, I don't know, at least since COVID. Probably before that.
I mean, I think we know what they want to be viewed as. They want to be viewed as the head of college athletics. Like that's how they approach it, at least from the football, basketball perspective. And frankly, I mean, you look at what they do in women's athletics, and it's Big Ten basketball is tremendous for women's athletics. Big Ten volleyball is excellent for women's athletics. Like they view themselves as the kings of college athletics. And they're old money. That's basically what it is. I don't think that's changed at all.
Yeah.
Now, inside of it, the dynamics have changed where the stylistically has switched because football has evolved.
Right.
And things like Urban Meyer coming into the conference ushers in a different style of offense. And you see it now throughout different teams. But you still have the tradition. Like, to win the Big Ten, it's still a very simple formula. You got to have an outstanding defense, and you got to be able to move with your offensive line. Your offensive line has to be good. Can't win this conference if you can't win in the trenches. It's been true from yesteryear. It'll be true into the future.
Yeah, and it's the same thing in every other conference, right?
Well, I think in the Big 12, Oklahoma had shown that you didn't have to win in that fashion.
Yeah, but that's different now. I mean, that's more of a defensive league than it gets credit for now.
Everything evolves, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
The Big Ten's evolution is that it fully has embraced its role as being like the banker of if this was Monopoly, it's picking the top hat and it's the banker. Like if all the conferences played Monopoly, the Big Ten is the top hat and they're the banker.
There is no doubt that Isn't there a guy? Is there a guy in Monopoly with like a monocle or something like that?
Well, that's what I was thinking. The top hat's the closest I could get to the monocle.
Yeah, I always wanted to be the car.
Who would be the car in the Monopoly game amongst the conference?
I was that the car was the coolest one. Some people thought the ship was the coolest one. I don't know.
I was a top hat. I was a thimble. I was the iron sometimes.
Yeah,
I was usually the Scotty.
the
Yep,
Scotty.
there's the dog.
Oh, the dog. The dog. Yes.
I
I never cared about the dog.
that tracks.
I just claimed it.
Chris writes in on YouTube, just give us the pinwheel back and we're good.
So far I've compared the Big 12 to Sega, and we've gotten into a version of Monopoly where the Big 10 is the banker and they're the top hat.
What are the conferences as Monopoly pieces?
I think this is a great question.
It's a great topic. Excellent topic.
Great question.
All right, let's take a quick time out. Plenty more to come. Actually, one more reminder before we take a break here. We have online contests going on right now at 1620thezone.com for Journey, George Thorogood and the Destroyers, Yachtly Crew, and Chris Stapleton. You can find each of those contests online right now at 1620thezone.com. And yes, one more reminder before we get to Brian Christopherson, who is coming up next. Fast breaks, buzzer beaters, block parties are back. And Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action because you can make picks and win money right now in Nebraska. That's right. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. So take a look across the board, whatever you might like. Remember, higher or lower, it is that easy. Download the app today and use promo code HAPPER1620 to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. Promo code HAPPER1620. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 19 plus and present in Nebraska. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. All right, welcome back. More of Happer and Schaefer here on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer with you. We're joined now on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline by our good friend Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7. BC, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. We have a very important question for you to start off.
Yeah, we want to start with this, Brian. We just got done with a discussion about the Big 12, which somehow took us to Sega and Monopoly. And now what we want to know is, when you played a game of Monopoly as a kid, maybe you still play now, what was your piece? What did you start with? What did you use as your token on the board?
Was it the thimble?
There is a thimble.
Nice.
A thimble, man.
Because I like. Yeah, I'm a thimble man. I don't know. It was easy. You could like put it on your pinky finger and kind of move it around.
Yes, that was a good one. I like that.
I think that was why.
It was more than just the joy that the thimble brought you growing up in the 1930s.
No, but now that I heard you say that phrase out loud, I'm going to be thinking through it the rest of the day. Like, I'm a thimble man. What does that mean? What does that say about me? What was I as a kid? What am I becoming as an adult? Am I going anywhere?
You are going to be furiously Googling after this appearance for what personality traits it means by what piece you pick.
It can't just be that a guy like putting it on his pinky finger. Is anyone going to put that into the answers on?
Hey, it could be part of the personality thing. It could be that you're, boisterous and carefree and extemporaneous. I don't know.
I was thinking that you were gonna rip off a Leonard Skinner parody, and do a thimble kind of man. That's what I figured that was next up for you. So I don't know. Maybe not.
That'd be good.
All right, good answer. We like it. He's a thimble man, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to basketball first, where no, Nebraska did not play last night, but they watched a lot of things happen around them in the Big Ten. I mean, all three of us have taken a very keen interest in the Big Ten race, which makes the game on Tuesday, or the result on Tuesday for Nebraska basketball, that much more important. If they would have won that game, we're looking at a much different picture today, BC, are we not?
We are, but they didn't have it. I mean, the honest way to look at that game, I think, is you feel like they let it slip a little bit because you have Rink Mass at the line with 12 seconds left, you're tied, and then you're actually up 2 with a minute left in overtime. But then you sort of go back to it, and I was like running through, how like ESPN will do their analytics of like the winning percentage at this point in the game. And Nebraska was like at a 0.8% chance of winning that game with like 2.5 minutes left in regulation. It was like the most, kind of ridiculous things happen. You got to give Nebraska credit for keep pushing along to the finish line. But Purdue did some silly stuff, missed free throws, and you end up in this spot where you're actually feeling like, man, Nebraska let that one get through their fingers. When in fact, I think they've got to treat that game like, look at the first 38 minutes and where they were positioned and what got them there and what do you got to, fix. But yeah, to the question, it is kind of a bummer because you'd be looking at second place alone right now and you'd be right on Michigan's tail. And I don't know, Michigan is obviously in great position to win it at this point, but even last night you saw that they can play with fire a little bit.
What would you sort of attribute, or what was maybe even Fred or the players attributing to, for why Nebraska started so slow in that game? I mean, it feels like such an outlier because this Nebraska team, more than really any other that I can think of, has been kind of the team that throws the first punch in some of these games. So it was unusual at the start of the game, at the start of the second half, and then at the start of overtime, Purdue was just immediately hitting shots right off the bat and putting Nebraska on their heels.
Yeah, when Fred talked about like how Nebraska got back to who they really are in the second half, the things he speaks on that I guess you'd say were lacking in the first half were just like the cutting was more on point. They had that rhythm and flow in the offense where everyone's playing off each other in that connected way they're so good at. And that I think disappeared a little bit after they got hit in the face in the first 4 minutes, where maybe you saw a little bit more one-on-one on a few possessions where a guy, instead of that sort of beautiful offense that it can be when it's at its highest level. I think you got to give Purdue its due. Like they run like more sets than anybody on offense is what, Nebraska will tell you. And so I think they caught the Huskers on a few things early, and guys hit shots. And so it was like, Fletcher Lawyer or whatever, it feels like he hit like all his shots early and then he couldn't make them late. So you got to give them credit and tip their hat. But yeah, it was disappointing because it felt like such a big game going in. And it felt like, because of what we're talking about with the standings and everything else, like a real chance for Nebraska to make a statement. And I think they also ran into a Purdue team that, came into this year as the favorites to win the Big Ten Conference and probably has had in their world a little bit of a disappointing season almost coming up to it, which sounds weird to say, but they're 3 games back, and I think they played a team that was pretty determined to make this a game where, hey, we're still in this race sort of thing, and they hit Nebraska with that first punch.
Do you feel like Schaefer and I have been talking about this over the last couple couple games. Do you feel like Nebraska, and some of it is just this point in the season, and it's getting late. It's been 24 games now. Do you feel like Nebraska has as much teeth to it on defense as it did, when they were really, really? I guess I don't even want to put words in your mouth. Like, where are they at on defense right now compared to where they might have been a month or so ago?
No, I get what you're saying, because there was that, like 3 or 4 weeks back, it just felt like. It felt like people everywhere were like making YouTube videos about their defense, right? Like they were in that sort of like realm where people were like, "Oh, look at what they're doing. See, they've taken it from this and they're applying this, and look at that." And right now that you're not hearing that as much, I do think it has somewhat to do with the competition they've faced. Like I still think it's a top tier defense, top 10, top 15 in the country. And the reason I would say that is, like, even in the second half of that game, they did a nice job adjusting, and basically Purdue, you could say they missed some open shots, but they had the sort of half offensively that Nebraska had in the first half. Really, the numbers were almost mirrored one another. And so the thing I think is so great about what like Nate Lenzer and those guys do is how they adjust within game. Like there's been many times this year where you've gone in at halftime and been like, oh, they're not quite locked in on that end of the floor. Mm-hmm. And then they come in and it's just a different story in the second half, like Minnesota was. Purdue was this way too. And another thing I think is a factor for their defense is I think Nebraska's movement on offense, and they are a well-conditioned team, the main 7 in the rotation, I think it wears the other side out. And you start to see it in their legs on some of their jumpers in the last 8 to 10 minutes. And I think there's enough data that's kind of proving that out. Like a Fletcher Lawyer is a really good shooter. He was off for most of the end of that game. And I do think some of that's what Nebraska does on the offensive end. It works its way over to the other side of the court because the team gets kind of fatigued with it. But yeah, I still think they're top 15 or whatever in the country, but there's definitely areas to improve. And the biggest one is you got to put these second chance opportunities away. Yeah. You've got to clean up the boards better. Yep.
So, I mean, leading into that Rutgers game, there was a lot of discussion about rink mass and needing to kind of put it all back together. The lasting, image for him might be from that Purdue game about the free throw, as an 80% free throw shooter, did not be able to get that and one there, but he did come away with 4 threes. I mean, how do you feel about rink mass now coming off of a 2-game stretch where he's shooting a little bit better than 50% from the floor and a little bit worse than 50% from 3, and 26 against Rutgers, 18 against Purdue? You think we're kind of beyond the mass slump a little bit?
It feels like we're moving out of it. Now we're talking about, like, Frager's got to get going a little bit more, right? That's the beauty of basketball. You kind of work your way over to another guy.
Isn't that the beauty of this team, though, that they have all of these different guys that at any different night, it could be Jamarcus, it could be Frager, it could be Samford, it could be Mass.
Yep.
And so if anybody's off, you've still got 4 other options all the time.
Yeah. That's definitely true. And I think you're right, Shafe, on Rink. It was an encouraging game, obviously, at Rutgers with the 26 points. And I felt like they were getting him to his spots where he's really comfortable, and he didn't speed it up. And you saw, the results with that. But then the next step was like, okay, it'd be nice if he had that game where he hits 3 or 4 from behind the arc, and he hits 4 in this one. And he hit some big ones like that. That's not the drama-laced game it was. If he doesn't hit like 2 or 3 long ones late, obviously he'd like that free throw back. But I feel good about where he's trending. I was always confident he would get back to it, though. That felt like it was just like one of those mid-season stories where a guy doesn't quite have it for 3 weeks, and you know that he's going to be there when you need it. So yeah, there's some other guys that I think now probably you'd like to see step up a little bit, and I still think this team, it goes almost as much as Jamarcus goes sometimes. I feel like when Jamarcus Lawrence is playing really, really good, that this team is like with their pace and everything. And then when Lawrence is hitting shots, it just elevates them so much. And like he had kind of a rough first half in that game the other night, and then just a great second half and kind of bringing him back. And so that is where it's interesting. Like it kind of goes from guy to guy where you could point out like how important they are in each way to their team. But I feel good about Rink right now.
BC, I have a classic pre-spring football question for you.
Yes.
Give me a position group. The first one that comes to your head that you would put in the category of not concerned about. I am unworried about this position group.
Okay. No, I didn't do that to make fun of the guys, but I'm trying to come up with the best answer. I guess it'd be wide receiver.
Isn't that the only answer?
Could be.
Everything else has so much turnover.
It's the best answer, I think. I mean, you got everybody back. That's the main cog. Obviously, Dane Key's gone, but he probably didn't even have the numbers people expected. I'm pretty excited about the Quasi Gilmore edition. So yeah, I would say wide receiver, and probably focal points in that position group would be like Quinn Clark and Cortez Mills. And I actually think Larry Miles is an early enrollee who could be heard from early. He's got return man capabilities too. So receiver is my answer. I guess to the broader question, it brings you to all the other ones. And there are a lot of, I don't want to call them necessarily concern points, but there's just a lot of curiosities everywhere else.
Oh, there's some curiosities.
Definitely curiosities.
Indeed.
Curiosities.
BC, we will continue those curiosities for the next several weeks.
That feels like a series
right.
BC is going to write.
BC's Curiosities?
No, it'll be spring curiosities, and then it'll be like colon and then running back.
You can use that. That's free.
Yeah, we'll give it to you.
5 thoughts from the Thimble Man.
Love it.
Please use that. Thanks, BC.
See you guys.
Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7. 5 spring curiosities from Mr. Thimble. He's just a thimble man. I like it. That is the great Brian Christopherson. Don't worry, we'll be into more classic spring football topics as we go along.
So I pulled this up. What your Monopoly token says about you.
This would be good. I have questions.
Do you want the thimble to start
I want
with?
the thimble first, yes.
Mainly played by females, it's the second least popular game token. People who choose the thimble are considered practical, sensitive, and creative. Bane, I don't know what that says, thimbles used in early versions of Monopoly have the inscription "for a good girl."
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now I think they didn't have to do the male female part. I think the descriptor is that of BC. The kind, what was it? Kind and thoughtful or something like
practical, sensitive, and creative.
Practical, sensible, and creative. Yeah, I think.
Do you want
BC.
the car?
I do want the car.
The most popular token,
Obviously.
preferred by 1 out of 4 players. People
Thinks
who
very
choose
highly of himself.
People who choose it tend to be outgoing, friendly, versatile, and adaptable. Players who choose the car tend to be male and very passionate.
I'm just mildly passionate.
Joey, do you want to know about the dog?
Yes, I want to know about the dog.
Preferred by 1 out of 5 Monopoly players, tied for second most popular token. They tend to be more female than male. They consider themselves trustworthy, loyal, and keen to play. They are mentally agile and passionate about winning. Dog players regard themselves as mild risk takers and careful in their strategy. They take more time counting their money.
I didn't know that we'd be getting
Interesting.
into a Monopoly zodiac sign situation today, but I would like to hear the top hat.
Okay.
You're interested.
Tied for the second most popular, chosen by 1 in 5 Monopoly players. Hat players tend to be introverted in real life, but the game is a great escape for them where they can be a little bit more dominating than in real life.
Ooh.
These players don't mind drawing attention to themselves or being controversial in the game and playing very strategically. They also tend to calculate the odds of financial return before making an investment.
Okay. I would say these are all generally accurate of our choices.
The iron, evenly played by both males and females. 1 out of 20 people prefer to play this token. Iron players are pluggers. They persist against long odds and often prevail. They handle adversity well.
So if you get an iron player in your Monopoly game, you just get ready. You're going to be in it for the long haul. You know, which is
I vacillate between the iron and the hat.
It's the primary reason why my dad hates playing Monopoly. Is like we're not going to finish the game. It's going to take 6 hours. I don't have 6 hours.
So
I'm playing Monopoly for nothing.
This is like there's certain people that I would play Monopoly with, and then there's just people that I would have no interest in playing Monopoly.
Yeah.
Like, that might be a personality test in itself. Like, would you be willing to be in a game of Monopoly?
The Monopoly test
with this individual.
Yeah. Would you play Monopoly with me?
Oh, yeah.
I would play Monopoly with you. I would love to play Monopoly.
I think it would be a really fun time, in part because I would like to see you get enraged by rolls that don't go your way.
I would play Monopoly with everyone who works at 1620 The Zone. And in fact, I think we should do this.
I want this
1620 The Monopoly.
We just stream a long game of Monopoly. That sounds like a COVID thing, but I would love to do that.
So there's obviously 8 of us, counting producers and then all the show hosts.
Yeah.
Can you have an 8-person? Do we have 2 games of Monopoly going at once?
Yeah, there's like a tournament of some sort. I don't know. Maybe we just cut it down.
We split midday, and one of those people goes and plays. It's morning Monopoly and afternoon Monopoly.
We got an idea. This is idea, man. This is the idea
show
now. All right, we'll be back round at the hour after this on 1620 The Zone. All right. I got a honk alert here. Did you see Creighton's baseball jerseys yesterday?
I saw them when Matt sent them over. I had no reaction.
Even the Husker honks would have to admit that those jerseys are beautiful.
Honk, honk. They look like perfectly nice baseball jerseys.
They look great. You have to admit it.
I don't have to.
Yes, you do. Those are the rules. When you like it, even secretly, you have to say, I like this.
But so this is the thing. Like, part of it, and you understand this, you've worked with me before. You've had a window into the way that my brain works and doesn't work.
Uh-huh.
I'm not the biggest jersey person.
You're
so
actually
I'm not going to like react in a variety, like whether it was Creighton, UNO, Nebraska, Hawaii. I'm not going to have like a super visceral reaction to jerseys.
You're not. You're right.
Now, logos, I like logos, more likely to engage in logo conversation.
What about the logo on the Creighton jersey? Okay.
I like the hat.
We're going to be interested in buying the hat.
The hat looked good.
How about the script Creighton is back this is in where full force.
I don't get is like into the font or into the how it's layered
I
on
figured font would be a good since you like logos. Logos and fonts are kind of in the same.
The logos is more of like the actual mascot or the whatever, you know, less so the script.
Yeah.
For me.
Which I would take on Nebraska logos. Why is the block end on the hat and not why is it the skinny end like it used to be on the baseball hat?
The iron end or whatever.
The giant blocky end. That's disgusting.
I feel like Nebraska's such a weird thing where the publicly available stuff that you can buy is so much worse than what they come up with in-house that then they never really release.
I feel like that's that way everywhere. But yes.
Is it partly because they're wearing it so it seems cooler that they're wearing it?
Yes, it's partly because of that. Yes.
All right.
But I don't see like I'm sure you could buy them somewhere, like the short sleeve script Nebraska.
Oh, I saw one the other day. I should have sent it to you.
That's good.
I thought about even purchasing it and then showing up in it and you being like, short sleeve hoodie.
I don't know why, though, they did that change a couple of years ago where they took the skinny end off the hat and they went to the block end. It seemed like it was like almost a Trev, even though this is post Trev, I think. It was like a Trev brand identity situation. Maybe it was Trev. I don't know.
So the iron end is a thick one, right?
I just call it the block end, but yeah, I think that's it.
But they have in-house have made that their emphasis.
Yes.
So like part of where some of this comes in at is when individual teams get to choose stuff, like when Nebraska basketball creates their own stuff, they're often doing it because they're not restricted in the way that when Nebraska wants merchandisers to do things a certain way.
Right.
Whereas the basketball team's like, we want this because it looks cool.
Right.
And almost none of them choose the iron end. But Nebraska's athletic department really wants the merchandisers to go heavy on the iron end.
Sad.
So that's kind of the
I wish they didn't. I wish they wouldn't. I wish they would.
I don't.
Because I have
the
a
skinny
bunch.
end?
I have a bunch of the old skinny end hats. Yeah, and they're great. They're fantastic.
But no, the iron end is very much like that's what they want the Nebraska logo to be that. There was a whole like squabble over everything with Old Herbie when that became like a super popular thing. And the last people on earth that actually then decided to merchandise it was the University of Nebraska after all the counterfeiters had their run with it.
I have seen, in fact, I think they were wearing them last night. The Creighton quarter zips where there's a bunch of different colors of them now. I think they were wearing the black ones last night where it's Old Billy, the old Billy, not Alien Billy, Old Billy, and he's dribbling a basketball or shooting a basketball or something like that. I know they have a baseball version of it in-house.
Those are very, very in vogue right now.
I know that there is, I saw Patrick, I think it was a rowing one day. I'm like, that is incredible.
Yeah.
I want that. I would buy a rowing hoodie, or something like that. And I just don't know that they're like publicly accessible or available.
Right. I mean, it's again, like the individual sports teams over at Nebraska are like, well, we need a Herbie golfer.
Yeah.
We want a Herbie Bowler.
And they made them all one. They made them all a logo.
Right,
like they're official school branded logos.
And
now.
it took however long
Yeah.
for them to finally be like, oh, there's a demand for this. We should probably do it.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than letting people just, make their own and then sell them.
Why don't they just have online, both of these places, Omaha too. Why don't they just have online places? Because it took me years to get my hands on an Omaha baseball hat. All I wanted was an Omaha baseball hat. I would go to all the local outlets. I would go to Lawler's. I would go to whatever. And I was like begging on the radio. I'm like, I need an Omaha baseball hat. And finally someone gave me one. Like I had to just get it from begging for it on the radio. So I wanted to buy one for the longest time, and I certainly would have. But why don't these places, why don't these schools like have, I don't know the first thing about branding and merchandising and marketing, but like have a website where you can go and maybe they don't have it readily available for you, but they'll make it for you.
I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
They don't have the in-house, like they don't want to deal with being the sales point. They don't want to do all of that. So it gets shipped out to your Lawlers, to your Husker Hounds, to your Shields, to your Dick's Sporting Goods, wherever else.
I want a custom order.
I'm also
custom order.
As long as we're offering some advice here to the merchandisers.
Oh, interesting. Merchandising advice from Mike Schaefer.
Let's be a little bit more discretionary in the brands that we've decided to give some of these contracts, because some of these things, and I'm not going to name them.
Don't do it.
Are bad.
Some of them are bad.
The quality of them are bad. The colors are slightly off. The material is not good. The fit looks like it's made for, really either it's too boxy or it's too, like, it's just, I don't know. Find better, reputable.
I'll say this on the exact other side of that equation. Both Creighton and Nebraska have branded stuff on Rowback.
Yeah, which
I'm wearing.
I am very much not talking about Rowback.
I would definitely.
So what I'm talking about starts with the third letter of the alphabet.
With Rowback.
Yeah.
The third letter of the alphabet.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one.
I'll mention it to you off air.
Thank you. Joel writes in on Twitter, I am once again bringing up that this is the best hat you can't buy, and it's the Script Huskers one that they wore in the Frost era. I was able to buy, I have a black version of that. I was able to buy that hat during that period of time. I don't know if they sell it anymore, but I think you can buy that. Anyway, Sindelar writes in, roll Jays, go baseball. That's what Stibbs said. Stibbs said Creighton has great baseball jerseys, and now we will always remember that he said that. Thank you, Stibbs. A Creighton honk. Roll Jays, go baseball. Speaking of college baseball, it starts tomorrow. Maybe we'll have that come up in our next segment. We still have plenty to cover in the 9 o'clock hour, in which we are wide open for you all. 402-951-1620. We'll be back after this on 1620 The Zone. Joe in Vegas writes in on Twitter, why won't Nebraska sell actual home and away game jerseys they did back in the 90s? Probably because they're not actually wearable. Like, football jerseys are so weird now because no real human being would just wear that.
Yeah,
like they're all they have
not?
all these they have all these tight, are you talking about like the actual authentic game? Like,
I mean, I'm like at UCLA, people were wearing white Nebraska road jerseys. Like,
okay, but not the game jerseys. Like Joe says,
he wants the authentic,
actual home and away game jerseys, because like those are not made for you
generally.
Right? They have all these different elastics on them. Like they're this tall and they pull them around pads and stuff. Yeah, that's mostly why. But people buy the jerseys. People buy the replica jerseys.
Yeah, Hudson just got a replica basketball jersey.
Whoa.
Number 1. Doesn't say anything on the back. He can probably wear it until he's like 4.
It doesn't say Hudsker.
It doesn't say Hudsker.
That'd be cool if it
probably
did.
have gotten
would be cool
to commemorate his win in the baby race that one time.
That would have been pretty cool.
That's a great time.
He hasn't been back to that. No, he saw Weekday Wade play a game there, which shout out to Weekday Wade. He has 100 wins now in varsity action.
I saw that. There was a graphic.
Gretna East, right? You knew that?
I knew that.
Okay.
Yeah, because he got a lot of run last year at the state tournament for his pets.
He is a unique dresser.
Weekday Wade, one of the most, I've had to explain this story to people on the show many, many times. And I actually feel like you now could give it context. People were like, what is this guy talking about? When I explained that he was just a guy who lived in your basement during the weekdays.
He did live
during some weekdays.
He basically got the Lincoln Lutheran job, and I lived over by Lincoln Lutheran, and he needed somewhere to live, but he had a house in Columbus, did not want to fully move to Lincoln, and I didn't have a roommate at the time, and he's like, hey, do you mind if I move in? And I was like, well, that's fine. He's like, I'm only going to be here pretty much like Sunday night through, Friday morning.
Weekdays.
And then I'll be gone. And he just got the name Weekday Wade. He had a lot of success as Lincoln Lutheran's coach, and then was at Northwest before they played varsity basketball, then at Gretna East, and really good coach.
He's killing it. Maybe we'll talk to Weekday Wade in a couple weeks when the state tournament fires up.
We could just have him be, even if they don't make it, he could just be our basketball analyst.
Maybe he could represent Gretna in the city of the day.
Oh, I don't hate that. I don't know that Gretna gets to be city of the day until Buc-ee's is officially complete.
That is when we will reserve that. So, like, in 100 years.
Have we already figured out that we're going to be on location for Buc-ee's when it actually, as it's being built, we're set up across the street? Doing play-by-play.
I think, yeah.
We'll just drive down there for a status update.
We are the most Buc-ee's radio show in the Omaha metropolitan
We are planting
area.
our flag.
Yeah, I think that will be. So if they need a radio show, which God knows they'll need help getting people there for business, especially on the first day, we will be there.
Yeah.
We are happy to help. So speaking of uniforms and logos and things like that, the teams who occupy those logos and uniforms, they start their season tomorrow. Nebraska was picked 4th in the league this year in the Big Ten in baseball, behind UCLA, Oregon, and USC. Obviously not bad company to be in. The returning Big Ten tournament champions who feel, I think, pretty good about their season. They have a sneak, I don't even know, for, I guess, college baseball ball knowers, this is not a sneaky tough weekend. This is just a legit tough weekend with UConn, Northeastern, Grand Canyon, and then obviously Stanford stands out as the tough one. But those other three are really, really good programs who have won a lot of games. And Nebraska has a little familiarity with.
I mean, it's 3 teams that occasionally or often win their leagues.
They have played both UConn and Northeastern in a regional within the last 6 years. And they have a little rivalry brewing with Grand Canyon playing them over the last couple of years. So this is it's a sneaky tough weekend for them for them to start things off.
Both schedules that way though. He very much, because the feeling was you aren't ever going to get enough credit for what you do in conference play, and you can maximize your schedule outside of it. You can help set yourself up for conference play by playing in these tournaments and these, multi-team events or whatever. And so he's been really big on scheduling this way.
It's great because we don't call them MTEs yet for baseball, which I'm excited about. That whole thing started during COVID for basketball. I was like, why did this stick? Out of all of the things that stuck, why did we call them MTEs?
Because they don't want to call them, they're not round robins and they're not tournaments. So they're just sort of like, hey, a bunch of teams are going to come play over here.
Come play some games.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, Nebraska will be on MLB Network against UConn.
They just call them invites, right?
I think that's what the Desert Invite or something like that. They will be on MLB Network tomorrow and then MLB.com for the rest of the weekend through Monday when they play Stanford. It's a big game to start things off. I mean, UConn always, they schedule tough. They have a few guys back from last year's team who finished second in the regular season and in the postseason Big East and fell short of the NCAA tournament last year, but a threat certainly every year. And they've had some really good players and a bunch of tradition. So they're tough. And then Northeastern is well known as a pitching factory nowadays. They've turned out a lot, including maybe most notably Cam Schlittler from the Yankees, who had a nice postseason run last year. So it's a tough weekend for Nebraska. They're going to schedule tough. And obviously next weekend it'll be challenging with Florida State and Louisville. And gosh, there's another one next weekend as well. And then a 3-game series at Auburn. So that's a real challenge for Nebraska to start things off.
I did not know that Aaron Savali is a Northeastern guy.
There's a lot of Northeastern pitchers.
Adam Ottavino, another one that's probably more notable.
The Northeastern pitching pipeline is very much here. And they had some guys on the team when Nebraska played them in that 21 regional too in Arkansas. I don't remember the names in particular, but everybody thought that team was pretty good. And then for Creighton this weekend, they go to St. Mary's. They are picked second in the Big East this year, even though they're coming off of the regular season and conference tournament championship, picked second in the league behind the said UConn Huskies. And I think there's probably a little bit of a chip on their shoulder there. St. Mary's this weekend for a 3-game series. And then next weekend, what am I missing here? They're back out to California, I believe, with San Diego. And then there's a Texas series for them. A little less on like the teeth of the at least the first 3 weeks. So I think there's an interesting discussion to be had about like how you manage the non-con if you're a northern school. Like Nebraska clearly is going, let's throw everything into the fire right away, and we're going to try and stack a couple RPI wins, like bang right out of the gate, maybe catch some people off guard, whatever it is. Creighton has, and we'll see how it goes in the future, but they're a little lighter to get their feet under them to start, and then heavier after they've played some home games. So that's when that series with Tulane comes up. That's when the Miami series comes up.
I was going to say the Miami series is what, mid-March?
And that's when the LSU series or the LSU game comes up. Yeah, the Miami series is the 20th, 21st, and 22nd, which is the week of St. Patrick's Day, which will be the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. So in basketball. And then the Tulane series is the week before that. So they actually have home games before that. It's kind of interesting in the way that they sort of manage that this year. But I think they should be pretty good. Return a lot from last year. Got a couple guys healthy off of last year as well, especially one guy, Eli Nissen, who will be in their weekend rotation to start things off. And I think they should be pretty good again. And they have cool jerseys.
Allegedly cool jerseys.
Schaefer doesn't know because he doesn't see coolness in jerseys.
It's actually probably the way
he just sees shirts.
I just see shirts
and logos.
All
right. Anything else in our kind of half-assed college baseball preview?
No, I mean, do you anticipate how many of the 3 schools get to a regional? Do they go 3 for 3, 2 for 3, 1 for 3, no for 3?
Well, I think if you were a line setter, you'd probably put it at
1.5.
1.5, right?
I think it'll be 2.
Nebraska and Creighton.
Probably.
UNO's picked second in the Summit. Yesterday, I think that came out. I mean, I would imagine they're always going to be a threat in that league.
Right.
It's just so difficult to get there at the end of it because you know what you have to do.
They'll run into Oral Roberts.
Yeah, Oral Roberts hasn't been very good over the last couple of years.
That's true.
The one that I think has maybe the biggest expectation that they should make it is Nebraska. I mean, they were the highest picked team in the conference that didn't come from the West Coast, effectively.
Yep.
And so they're picked fourth, which isn't really a slight when you consider what's in front of them with USC and UCLA and Oregon. So all teams that they played well last year, and when they played in the tournament, they had big wins against both Oregon and UCLA on their way to the Big Ten title.
The thing that you wonder, as always, with Nebraska is, especially in the early season, do they have enough pitching to make it through?
It's almost never do they have enough pitching. It's will they stay healthy enough to then.
That's another thing
to allow them to be into the middle of the season and have arms that are usable.
I mean, there's probably I don't know how many times over the last 20 years, post glory days, how many day one starters they've thrown out there thinking that they were going to be their Friday starter for the rest of the season, number one, and number two, that actually happened.
Right.
Maybe once or twice, very few times it was decided right at the start, this is definitely our Friday night guy. And then it actually turned out that way.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Horn is that guy. He's certainly sure to be in the rotation.
It depends on what version of Ty Horn you get, because the one that showed up in the Big Ten tournament and the one that was battling for Nebraska in that regard wasn't always there when they were playing in the Big Ten regular season last year. So it's he's almost someone who just sort of arose in big moments.
Yep.
And
he was really good in those moments.
Really was. He really, really was.
So this weekend it'll be Horn, and then they'll go Carson Jassa.
Yep.
And then the guy that you keep hearing about is Cooper Katsky, who's flying up some draft boards. He gets Grand Canyon on Sunday, then Gavin Blackowitz on Monday for the Huskers. Creighton will go with Pino, and then Wilson Moggers, and then Eli Nissen for this weekend. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Any thoughts on that? We'll certainly have them. Happy college baseball season for all who celebrate. I know there's some of you who are like, what are you guys talking about? But we celebrate here on
we're baseball guys.
Here on Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. Hey, look, it's more live sports during the morning show. We have
What a treat.
softball between Nebraska and LSU. These two teams were in the same regional together last year.
Is it the color of the television for why the LSU purple feels slightly off?
Let's see. Well, Nebraska's wearing black and red pants today. Oh yeah, it is a little. It's almost bluish.
Yeah, a little washed.
All purple.
It's early over in Florida.
So Nebraska will also get a crack at number 1 Texas Tech at some point this weekend as well. I like softball because at softball weekends they throw in like 47 games in like 3 days. They're just like, go get them.
Was it last year?
So Nebraska after 2 weekends will be like 6 and 6 or something like that. You'll be like, what? 2 weekends? Like 12 games? Yeah, that's right.
Last year they were in New Mexico and played in this event where it's like a high altitude. And so they probably hit in their 4 to 5 games. It felt like they hit like 20 home runs. And so their offensive numbers were just insane.
It's completely juiced.
Coming off of that.
Good job. We'll see how this one works out today. A little top 10 battle in the Clearwater Invitational. Fred Hoiberg was on the radio last night, and he flippantly mentioned at the end of his conversation with Kyle Crooks that he detested promotion nights. He said, I don't want to do any of this. This is all very tongue-in-cheek, by the way. He goes, I don't want to do whiteouts anymore, and I don't want to do headband nights. In fact, Kyle actually alerted him to the fact that they were giving out thousands of Sam Hoiberg headbands at the game, which is not shocking knowing Fred. It's like, I didn't know anything about that. I didn't even see that. That is completely beyond he didn't ever look up into the stands to see 8,000 people wearing a headband.
Do you think if Rink makes that free throw and Nebraska holds on defensively, does he reach over and grab a headband and throw it on in celebration? Oh no, he shoots it.
I think you got to pull it back like a rock slinger.
Yes, slingshot it to the stands.
If that game had finished on a buzzer beater, I think there's at least like a 3% chance the student section attempts to rush the court and the players are mad about it.
I mean, we apparently already got a flying beer can on the floor. Yeah. Nebraska didn't even win.
I don't think it was a beer can.
I don't think it was either.
It wouldn't be safe to run down the court.
You would have known that if it was a beer can. Yeah. By the way.
That was what was weird about it to me. Like, I'm not surprised something got thrown, and it sounds like they identified whoever it was.
Oh, they'll have no problem doing that. Yes.
That person hopefully doesn't get to go to any more games. I'm very anti stuff being thrown at sporting events.
You should be. That's a good take.
This isn't the SEC. You can't treat your field like trash.
Good point.
So
especially if they start doing glass courts now.
Oh man.
What if they start throwing stuff on glass courts and the whole thing shatters?
It just turns into the graphic is please stop. Or they play into it and they make it a landing zone.
Nice. Yeah, good one.
Yeah.
Or turns into bars or something like that.
You get how many points for landing in the dead center of the court?
No, that wouldn't be very good. That wouldn't be a good thing for anybody. But he sort of flippantly mentioned it, but it does bring up sort of a hot topic around here. People love commenting on the fan experience and some of the things that the marketing people are tasked with doing to get people to basketball games and volleyball games and things like that. Now, I am way too close to all of these situations. So I would like to know from you, Schaefer.
Yeah.
Do you care about any of it? Do you ignore it? Does a promotion ever get you to get out of your chair into an arena?
I like when it's more planned out than when they just, what was it, a week before the Illinois game? It was like, this is going to be a whiteout.
Yeah. It worked. It was really good.
And the response was great. And you got to give credit to the fans who do this. I thought when they did the blackout with the football game, like weirdest work week of my entire life. But I remember sitting there at home instead of being in the stadium. You can figure that one out for yourself.
Yeah.
And just being really, really impressed on what it looked like visually. So I give a ton of credit to people who
turn the end zones black,
who make
like
these things happen.
Yeah.
And I thought the whiteout, and Lauren can speak to this, and she did when we asked her about it. Like, they did a really good job. I don't know what it looked like on television.
It looked excellent on TV.
But but being there, I was genuinely very impressed by the way that people did it. I just wish that there was like more notice for these things, or that it just feels like it sort of randomly gets applied. Now, some of it is they're having a season that maybe wasn't expected. And yet at the same time, I would kind of argue like, okay, isn't it your job to sort of have these interspliced throughout the year? Like, it's one of those where it feels like the promotions just sort of get tacked in there and halfway through instead of being a thought out process.
Yeah.
And it goes to where one of my complaints with Nebraska.
Some of it is last second, though. I
Yeah.
mean, some of it you just like, you got to maybe a sponsor comes through and they buy something, or they're like, hey, we want to do 9,000 towels today. Would you like to give them out? And they're like, sure, I guess. But that's 48 hours before the game starts.
I can understand things like this pop up, but it's not like you don't know the schedule well in advance. It's not like you don't have an opportunity to plan these things. And then what kind of bothers me is for Nebraska, so many times it feels like on their end of it, it's low effort, low energy, and then the fans are expected to supply everything else for it. It's like, we want to do a whiteout. We're not going to give you anything, but you show up in a white shirt. Great. Cool. Awesome.
And
good
they do,
work.
though, but they do.
And the fans do.
They do, yeah.
Because
I'm constantly amazed. We do all sorts of different like stripe outs at the Creighton games and stuff like that. And it feels like, I don't know, a handful of times a year, it's a different color, and like they put out the map of the sections and stuff like that. And it changes and it varies. Like they do blue and white, they do powder blue, they do powder blue and like a whole bunch of different stuff. And still, and they give out towels, which is nice. And that sort of helps the visual of it at first. But people, they look and they follow the directions, and they're like, yeah, I'm in section 118 today, so I got blue.
Well, they finally gave out instructions for how they want the Husker Power chant to go in the building that's been there since 2013.
It's corners, right?
Yeah. It's just like
the arena is split diagonally.
There's things that have happened with this basketball, and I focus more on basketball because, frankly, I just don't care as much with football. And with basketball,
football, it's just football, right? Yeah. Like there's 90,000 people there. What are you supposed to do? Like if you have the ability to blow it out and do a blackout game once a year, once every 5 years, or whatever it is, then I would imagine people would be supportive of it.
Unsurprisingly, Nebraska baseball usually does a tremendous job with this, where it's like they have their promotions thought out in advance. There's a theme around it. Like they gave out they did like an Alex Gordon thing one year. They did like the 2000s.
Baseball is just a theme sport.
Yeah.
Like, it's dollar dog night,
partly because you have more games. So you have to attract more people because of it. So you want to create different things to sort of identify with it.
And there's so few, I think this is what we're getting to, is the crux of this now. Like there are also so few high leverage baseball games where you feel like if you're doing a beach promotion or something like that, it takes away from the game. In baseball, it adds to it almost every time, because a baseball game is a baseball game. It's low leverage. It's like, come out, have a beer.
There will be another one tomorrow.
Be with the family, enjoy the weather, or don't if it's March, and do that whole thing. In basketball, it's hard because I think there's this really, really fine line of like, are the themes attracting people, and then how good is our team, and are we taking away from this really edgy, intense home court advantage that we want to create, and what is the theme or the giveaway or whatever mean in that grand scheme of things? Yeah. It's complicated. And the timing, you're right, is a lot of it. So I mean, long story short, like I work with people at both places, and it's a constant conversation.
It strikes me as odd that some of this couldn't be handled before the season and like designated in different ways. I mean, Creighton, it's not like if you want to do a whiteout and you want it to be a thing every year, then like figure out which game you want to be the whiteout game and then make that a thing. Build towards it, sell apparel towards it, make it a thing.
Sure.
Instead, it's like, we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You figure out how to make it happen, but Nebraska's putting their name on it.
That's kind of what Creighton did when they released their men's basketball schedule. They'll label each of their home games what night they're going to be doing. Like one of the nights they'll do the pink out.
It's smart to do that. Otherwise, it just looks like you're
Long-term
making it
planning.
up as you're going along over there in Lincoln.
And everybody knows the last home game is the whiteout for Creighton. It's been that way for a long time.
Right.
So yeah, there's stuff that you
But
can
when
sort of
your
mark the
absence
calendar
of
for.
tradition, like Nebraska basketball largely is, it creates the ability to be creative, to do things in a unique manner. And they fail a lot with that.
The only thing that they've tried to replicate a variety of different times, although they don't market it this way, but you just hear this a lot from fans. It was like, well, no sit Sunday. Should we have a no sit Sunday every year? And that feels like what happens every time when they pull off like a successful thing like this. They're like, do we do a blackout every year? Do we do a whiteout every year? Do we do a no sit Sunday every year and stuff like that?
You don't have to do
you really don't.
You could have a game where you have towels on the seats and people can come and wave the towels. Like, you could do that.
It's wave
you
towels.
You could even call
night.
it towel day, towel night, whatever you want to do. You could put it on the schedule so people know that when they arrive, there's going to be a tiny little towel on their seat. And you could have it sponsored by First National Bank or Pinnacle Bank or whoever else. Like it extends into all of these different things. Like, they barely have halftime entertainment at Nebraska anymore. It's 90% fourth graders from area schools playing basketball, or the drum line showed up the other day, or the cheerleaders were involved.
Here's the other thing too that needs to probably be mentioned. Like the marketing departments do not have exorbitant budgets.
Sure, and that's part of it.
Yeah.
And
so they have to be very, very,
and they have to line it up so if those acts are coming through that it hits, at these times.
They have to be very, very selective on where they throw like a bunch of promotion and marketing for a big game. And sometimes it's you don't know how the season's going to go either. Like, so much of this is based on how good your team is. Right. Like, the acceptance of whatever you do, the acceptance of it is going to be based 75% probably on how people feel about the team.
But if you know that, say, Michigan State is coming to town on a Friday, and it's one of the rare evening weekend games,
and it's early in the season,
and Michigan State is traditionally good. I don't even know if there was a halftime show for that one or not, but I'm guessing it was fourth graders from Waverly playing basketball.
It may have been. I don't remember.
So it's just like this is what I mean. Like, there's so much of a low energy, low effort that's extended to Nebraska basketball with this. And it's just like,
but Fred said yesterday, he was like, look, man, I just want to show up and like, let's hoop, we don't need any of this stuff. Let's just be, we don't need any of this, like, whatever, let's just be the team that shows up in whatever shirt we wear, and
that's entirely an option. Like, if you want to be we aren't going to do promotions, then be that. But when it's like, oh, we're going to throw this in last second here, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Text from the 402, aka the Section 220 boys. Everyone knows Upper Bowl night, baby, in all caps. Yes, they do. Upper Bowl Appreciation Night has been one of the most fun things we've done. Even if it's just a segment or one game or one giveaway up there or whatever it is, it's so much fun. I love the people in the Upper Bowl,
because they feel like they haven't been forgotten about for a while.
Genuinely appreciate.
Yeah,
genuinely appreciate.
Because when you're sitting up there and you watch Section 112 get chosen as a section of the game, and you're over here like, oh, wow, I've been in the Upper Bowl for 7 years, and there hasn't been any time it started with a 2.
Yeah.
And there's never been a Valentino's slice that's made its way up here.
Not nary a T-shirt from a T-shirt cannon.
Well,
where's my hot dog?
Let's bring out the golf team to throw shirts into the crowd. That's going to get to the Upper Bowl. So it's like, I totally get why if you're in the Upper Bowl and you have an appreciation night that's dedicated around you, that's a big deal.
I like to appreciate the Upper Bowl every single night.
Shout out to Pinnacle Bank Arena. I mean, I haven't been to CHI for a Creighton game this year, but like, people have shown up and have filled that place out, and they're sitting. I'll be in the 300s on Saturday. People have really shown up,
They should get Dwayne to go to the upper bowl and just high five some people.
You would take them like 2 years to get through the escalators to get up there.
It is one of the troubles of that at CHI. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
there's some stairs.
You're up there. You're probably missing the next TV timeout or the you're gonna have to have your spots really
down there on the floor for the next one, baby. That's how it rolls. Text from the
Should let
402.
you just parachute down from the catwalk.
We should figure out a better way. Maybe I could put me on a zip
Would
line.
you ever? If
I feel
they're
like you're
hey,
just here for the zip line.
Would you do a zip line if they're like, we have it set up that you can zip line down from the top to the court during this commercial break?
From the hockey press box down to the floor? Yes.
That's something.
You would do it?
I would do it.
That would be that's something like the Jacksonville Jaguars mascot would do. Do some random.
Yeah, I don't want to be a mascot. I wanted to be happy.
Oh, I know.
You remember when
I think you'd be
Rocky,
terrified.
the Nuggets mascot, he passed out because he ziplined down off the roof, off the catwalk?
I do not
I'm
know.
not going to the catwalk. Do not put it on the internet that I'm going to the catwalk.
You've been up there though.
No, not going to the catwalk. Never will go to the catwalk.
You're not even to just get a look?
Nope. Never, ever, ever, ever going to the
Some
catwalk.
of my favorite photos are when the photographers do
They're great photos.
The look down.
I don't want to watch a person on the catwalk. I don't want to be on the catwalk. I want to see the photos. That'd be great, but I don't want to know that it exists. Even looking at the catwalk makes me freak out.
Would you sit on the green monster at Fenway?
I don't. Not in the front row. I'd sit in the second row.
Row 3 or back, but not the last row.
I'm not going on the catwalk. Not putting it on the catwalk. Texture from the 402 says, believe we got the KC Disc Dogs and their same music from 2003 at the Michigan State game. There is a lot of Who Let the Dogs Out at the KC Disc Dogs. That's for sure. All right. We'll be back. Final segment after this on 1620 The Zone. What's this? Schedules? Joey, wake up.
What?
Nebraska, the state. South Dakota, the state. They will be engaging in cross-state high school football battles this upcoming year in 2027 as the schedules for the NSAA were released yesterday. Here are some matchups. I don't know anything about South Dakota high schools. Schaefer might be able to add
I can fill in some gaps.
Some to this. We will have Brandon Valley at Bellevue West.
Brandon Valley has had some D1 players come through it. Most recently had a lineman that went to Iowa.
Shocking.
His first name was Hudson. I don't know what his last
Also
name.
shocking.
Hudson
a person
Parliament,
named
I think
Hudson
was his name. Hudson Parliament.
Oh, I kind of remember that guy. We have Washington at Millard North.
Sioux Falls, Washington, the Farniaks, Nate Gary, Randolph Kapai.
Randy
Randy.
is at Randy's at New Mexico, wasn't he? Did he play it all this year?
I don't think he did much.
I always liked Randy.
Yeah. I forgot that was your thing with him.
My Central Eagles at Lincoln High School, not in Lincoln, Nebraska, right? They are on
Sioux Falls, Lincoln.
Sioux Falls, Lincoln. Sioux Falls.
So, if people that don't know this, the 4 high schools in Sioux Falls are named after the 4 faces on Mount Rushmore, if you haven't figured that one out.
Genius.
Washington, Lincoln, Jefferson, and Roosevelt.
That makes a lot of sense. Speaking of one of the faces on Mount Rushmore, we'll have Westview, not a face on Mount Rushmore, at Jefferson.
A face on Mount Rushmore.
A face on Mount Rushmore. And the Omaha North Vikings go to Harrisburg this year.
Now, I don't know where Harrisburg, South Dakota is, but they tend to have pretty good teams and have had some D1 guys as well.
Let's see where it is on the map. It is in Harrisburg.
Looks like it's north of Sioux Falls along the I-29. Oh, no, it's just south. It's just south of Sioux Falls.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a
approach.
suburb.
It must be.
Suburb of Sioux Falls, if that exists. Harrisburg High School, Harrisburg, South Dakota. So there's a nice little scheduling agreement there, and then we got the rest of the schedules for 26 and 27 yesterday, including like Millard South, who is going to play at least 2 non-Nebraska games next year, and I know that was a big part of what they wanted to do. Schaefer, let me pull up the schedule there real quick, but yeah.
Well, I know there are 2 games. One of them is against Cardinal Ritter, and that is a program that comes from St. Louis. I know that Millard South is trying to be a little bit more aggressive with their scheduling because, frankly, they haven't really had to.
Not much competition around here.
Haven't had to sweat much for the in-state games lately.
That's right.
So I cannot remember who the other team is.
They're hosting Lee Summit North in week 2.
There you go.
Which is a good game. I mean, that's a program that usually has talent at it, and it's where Jamar Mosey used to coach. Isaiah Mosey and Williams Winery played.
So yeah, they'll get Lee Summit North in week 2, Cardinal Ritter from Missouri in week 4. Those are one's a home game, one's a road game. And then to finish off the regular season, Millard South and West Side will get together, which, that'll always be fun. And remember, all the schedules are just flipped for 2027. So if you get a home game, you got a road game the next year, and vice versa. But that's cool. I think that's a pretty cool scheduling agreement between the two, and between metro area schools and Sioux Falls schools.
Yeah, absolutely.
It appears to be similar level of competition, although you never really know until it's played. So I think that's a good thing for all the kids around here.
There will definitely be recruits for some of these schools, whether it's the South Dakota, Nebraska ones, or Millard South playing against both Cardinal Ritter Prep, which usually has a handful of guys that play in the FBS every year, and then Lee Summit North, which has become one of the more popular schools in the Kansas City, Missouri area.
Good text from the 531 before we get out of here. If they build another school in Sioux Falls, do they have to add another face to Mount Rushmore?
Well,
what a question. Or is it
there's,
vice versa? If they add another face to Mount Rushmore, do they have to have a school that reflects it?
Isn't there a current president that wants his face put on there?
Yes.
So then we're looking at Sioux Falls Trump.
There's only one current president.
Yeah.
I think he has expressed that desire before. Yes.
I think he's even talked about making his own version of it.
There is a second Roosevelt. People forget.
There you go.
Just name one. Theodore.
Okay. Interesting.
Theo.
We'll keep a close eye on what Sioux Falls area high schools are named going forward. All right. That is going to do it for us today on the show. Once again, if you missed anything, 1620thezone.com is where you can find it. Tomorrow is Friday, and we are excited about that. We'll talk to you then. The crossover is coming up next.